Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to this video, guys. So just give me a little while. Let me just sort some things out. Okay, right. So how is everyone? Alaikum assalam Sufyan. Wa alaikum assalam MP. Wa alaikum assalam Yasin. Wa alaikum assalam S Hussein. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. You guys are bright and early. Alright, so let's let me try to get this chat thing sorted. Alright, see this chat thing. I don't know, is having the chat on the screen where you guys can see, is that better? Is that something you guys find useful? I don't know if it's something you guys like. Some guys it's things you don't like. And plus, can you guys hear? Is the sound working? Is it loud enough? Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Erd, I'm gonna mess this name up again. Erd Berchen. And how's the weekend going? Weekend's going very well, mashallah. Isolation. No, I don't have any symptoms, but just, you know, that kind of lockdown thing. Lockdown fever. Yeah, lockdown fever. Right, so. Okay, so. Almost got it done. Okay, so, right. That's the nephew crying. Yeah, mashallah. Okay, so, right. Let's start this again. Everyone see, yeah? Everyone can hear, everyone can see. You can see the comments as well. Comments should be coming up in a bit. Actually, they should have come up. Alright, so let's have a look at the questions. Alright, so let's start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum Maulana. I hope you're in the best of health. I have a friend who invited me over to his house and served me food which his wife specifically cooked for me. The situation is that I wasn't sure if the meat he served was zabiha. I couldn't ask either because it would break his heart and would be a very bad scene. Therefore I ate it and I'm feeling very bad in my heart for eating something mashkook. What's the ruling in this situation I was in? Was it right for me to just eat it quietly given the scenario? So the ruling basically is, when it comes to eating meat, is that if the meat is supplied by someone who's not a Muslim, like, you know, in a shop you're buying it, then you must ask if it's halal or not. And if it's a Muslim, if you trust the person, if it's trustworthy, then you can take it from their word for it. If it's someone who is your friend, family member, etc., and they've cooked for you, then you actually don't have to ask if it's halal. And it's actually something that comes in a hadith, where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muslim Ahmad and other narrations as well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a person should not ask another where his food came from or where his drink came from. Yeah, so yes, it would be fine, and even if it did turn out to be haram, inshallah, Allah will forgive a person for that. So it would be fine, unless the person is categorically someone who openly sins. Then you must ask him about the meat. Okay, next question. I just came across a hadith which talks about there being 40 abdals on the earth, and as soon as one dies, they're immediately replaced. Is this hadith authentic? If so, do we know of any other these abdals? Yes, so a lot of scholars have discussed this hadith. Many have considered the hadith not to be acceptable. Those who have taken to be acceptable have said that there's problems in some of the wordings, but there does seem to be this idea of there existing certain people on earth who are considered to be like some sort of a, like you can say, pious people. Allah knows best. Wallahu alam. I mean, these kind of things, I wouldn't go in search of these kind of things, right? It's like one of those Khidr alayhi salam things, that you don't go around the earth searching for Khidrs and who is a Khidr and what is Khidr and is Khidr still alive. And some people love these kind of conspiracy things and they just want to label people. I think Sheikh so-and-so is one of the pious people of the earth, or I think, you know, Sheikh so-and-so, this lady or this man. I wouldn't waste my time with that. Okay. Can you recommend an extensive reading list for Islamic studies? Actually, that's a separate one. I need to answer separately because I have to write something on that. I mean, it depends what kind of sciences. If you could tell me what kind of sciences you're referring to. Salam, can you interpret dream of seeing gathering a lot of people and there was rainfall with blood in it? I mean, when it comes to dreams, I don't usually interpret dreams. I know some of you guys have sent me loads of dreams that you want me to interpret, but the thing is, that's not the thing which I'm trained in. Okay, I will help people interpret their dreams. The only thing about dreams is when I interpret dreams, I need to know lots of information about the person whose dream I'm interpreting. And sometimes it might result in divulging certain things which the person might not like to divulge. Right? Because sometimes in the dream, if you tell your dream to someone, you might be exposing certain things about yourself. And the person interpreting the dream might get indication of that. So sometimes you've got to be careful who you tell your dream to as well. Okay. So generally, seeing rainfall with blood, seeing rainfall in a dream is generally not a good sign, right? It's a negative sign unless it's in a time that there's drought, and if there's blood in it, then it means bad, right? So seeing blood in dream form, because it's not something natural. Naturally, you don't see blood coming down from the sky, and blood is a sign of death and harm and bad health. Okay. Okay, and one more question, then I'll come on to you guys. Assalamu alaikum. Please, if you can answer this question for me. I understand that to prove zina, 4 men witnesses have to see the actual act of penetration and to testify. What is the act recorded? What if the act is recorded on video or CCTV? Will that count as 4 witnesses? No, it won't. It won't count. The ruling is what we call in usul terms, we call this ruling a Amr Ta'abbudi ruling, and therefore Amr Ta'abbudi means it's a religious ritualistic ruling that comes from Allah that we don't know the exact reason why. So we don't know exact reason why there's 5 salats, why there's 7 times around the Kaaba. We don't know. Some people can guess. Some people might say 7 is a magical number or something else, but that's all speculation. It's not categorical. So, you know, we don't know, but no, CCTV won't be valid. Okay, right. Let's check out your questions then. So MU786, so MU, narrated by Anas radiallahu anhu, the people said, Messenger of Allah, prices have shot up, so fixed prices for us. Thereupon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah is the one who fixes prices, who withholds, gives lavishly and provides, and I hope that when I meet Allah, none of you will have any claim on me for an injustice regarding blood or property. Right. So what's the question? Salam, hope you are. In view of the above hadith, can you please advise it's haram for shopkeepers to inflate prices? Okay, so this hadith has nothing to do with inflating prices. Basically, this hadith is to do with the idea of competition. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that people came to him and said, the kind of the one who is governing Medina, as the leader of the Muslims, can you tell the shopkeepers they can't sell things above this price? Can you set the prices? So the Prophet ﷺ said, no. The idea of a free market is that people can sell things for whatever price they want. And natural competition, it will lower the price. So if you have 10 people selling the same thing, they will naturally try to sell it at a competitive price. So people naturally lower the prices. So the scholars said, like Sa'id bin Musayyib and others, they said you are allowed to set prices when it's going to harm the public. So if it's an item, commodity that's going to harm the public, like nowadays, where, so the government can set prices on, like the government sets prices on petrol, it sets prices on certain commodities that you can't sell it above this price. You have to sell it up to maximum this price. That's allowed. But here, this hadith isn't indicating towards hiking prices. For hiking prices, there's another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ has talked about that. Okay. MP, H&M, New Look, John Lewis, all closed their stores. Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. I'll probably go there probably like twice a year or something. I don't know. Okay. Abdul, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How's America? How's everything in the US? Abdullahi G. So. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay. Sufyan Salams. Following on from the halal meat question, a meat that is sourced from Shias, would that be doubtful, allowed or not? So yeah, it'll be allowed. Yeah, it'll be allowed. Meat, because Shias are considered to be Muslim. If a person has certain beliefs which are categorically held by a particular individual, you 100% know that this individual holds a particular belief which is categorically against Islam, then obviously they're out of Islam, and then you can't eat their slaughtered meat. But Shias are generally considered to be from the Muslim Ummah, and we respect that. Yeah, so their meat would be okay. Shari the Flash, Mufti Saab, Assalamu alaikum, assalamu rahmatullah. How to start a new life with Allah and leave your past life behind? Very good question. You need to make sincere tawbah to Allah. Sincere tawbah to Allah. If you have to change your friends who are influencing you in a bad way, change them, and then just go for it. Yeah, maybe you might want to change jobs. Maybe you might want to move houses. These kind of things. But yeah, that's the main kind of thing that I would say. Sidi Ahmed Tumani, on behalf of my friend sitting by me, asking by taking care of non-mahram child, bringing him up Islamically and use it, is it sinful or he should push the child away? Yes, so if you're bringing up a child who's a non-mahram, it's totally very good. This is called adoption, and adoption, the Prophet ﷺ says, whoever adopts an orphan, then me and him are going to be like this in Jannah. And he put his two fingers up, and he said we're going to be like this. So it's very good. The surname, you can change it as long as everyone knows that it's not your child. Like as long as it's known. So when you die and inheritance comes, he won't inherit from you Islamically, but you can leave him a share of wealth under the bequest sort of rulings. I can't even say. You know what? You're gonna have to tell me how to say your name. Can I call you Erd Birchen? Some women who are taking birth control pills are actually able to control when they will get their period. Would it be compulsory for these women to stop taking the pill to be able to fast the whole month of Ramadan, or should they take it before on a regular basis? No, they can totally fine. Remember, a woman being in the state of menstruation is not a sin, and it's not something frowned upon. It's actually something which is like a dispensation, like a holiday Allah has given women, that totally they can take it. So if a woman can control her period, alhamdulillah, many women might enjoy that in the month of Ramadan, the long fasts, and they can reduce them. That's totally fine. Nothing's wrong with it. And nor should we consider these women to be less in piety as well. Sometimes someone might say, oh, but women, they don't pray every month, they don't pray a certain number of days of salah, so therefore they're less than men in piety, or they don't fast in the month of Ramadan, they do qada, so they don't get the barakah of Ramadan. No, barakah is in the hands of Allah. Barakah is not like a calculator where you kind of like take the calculation and say, okay, I've prayed this much, I've fasted this much barakah I'm getting. No, barakah is from Allah. Allah is the one that gives barakah. Imagine it like everyone has a cup in their hands, right? Like I've got a cup, and everyone is holding their cup up to the sky, and whoever's cup rain falls in, that's barakah. So you might put your cup up and no rain falls in there, yeah, and someone else might put their cup up and the rain falls in there. So this is why those women who do this, totally permissible for them, totally fine for them. But what I would say is they should be careful about taking these pills, because it can cause harm to some women. That's all. Okay, let's check some of these questions then. Sheikh, can you suggest any series on Sahih Bukhari? I'm looking for something that gives an overview of each chapter. English, Arabic, or Urdu is fine. Okay, that's another one I'll have to check up. There are some online which are in Arabic, and there's some in Urdu, but I don't know about English ones. I don't think I've come across any. Okay. Can one break a nafal fast without any reason? I mean, according to Hanafis, it's disliked if there's no reason. According to Shafi, it's totally fine. So I've read in Ascent to Felicity that if one wants to break a nafal, it must be done before Zawal. But haven't heard this anywhere. Please, can you clarify? Ascent to Felicity. Okay, is that Maraqi al-Falah, Ascent to Felicity? Yeah. So in other words, according to Hanafis, basically, nafal fast, you can actually start your nafal fast, your intention, from half day, midday. As long as you haven't eaten anything since Fajr started, you can actually, in two minds, if you're in two minds about fasting. So let's say, for example, I think to myself, tomorrow I'm going to fast tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I'm still thinking, shall I fast, shall I not fast? I can just have my breakfast and not fast. So it's not really breaking a fast. It's actually not committing to the fast. So you can retract your commitment to a fast before half day. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's permissible, according to Hanafis. After half day, then the fast is considered to have started then. Like, so if you intended and half day passes, your fast intention has started, now you can't break. It's makruh to break it, unless you've got a reason, a valid reason. And a valid reason could be something like guests come down your house and it's rude not to eat with them. So yeah, you can break it. Okay, next. Why does bleeding break your wudu? So, okay, this is a good question. Why does bleeding break your wudu? So, bleeding is something which, like, you cut yourself and blood comes out. Yeah? So, according to the scholars, they all the scholars agree, that if urine comes out of your private parts, if feces comes out in your private parts, your wudu breaks. Everyone agrees this, because in the Quran, Allah says, "O jaa ahadun minkum min gha'it," or one of you goes to the toilet, your wudu breaks. The difference of opinion comes in, what about cutting yourself and blood comes out? So let's say I fall off my bike, cut myself, blood starts coming out. Will my wudu break? The Shafis and the Malikis say wudu won't break. Hanbalis say wudu will break if it's a lot. If it's a little bit, it's okay. And the Hanafis say wudu will break if it flows. If it doesn't flow, if it just grazes, it's like a graze wound, and there's no blood kind of flowing, it's just in the wound, then the wudu won't break. But otherwise, if it flows, then wudu will break. What's the reason for this? So the Shafis and the Malikis, they say, look, basically, we don't know if wudu breaks unless Allah tells us. And Allah hasn't told us in the Quran that wudu breaks except when going toilet. So how can we say cutting breaks wudu? Well, the Hanafis say, look, doesn't Allah say in the Quran that when you go toilet, your wudu breaks? And they say, yes. Well, when you go toilet, what happens? Impurity comes out your body, isn't it? And they go, yes. So therefore, isn't the rule in the Quran, rather than you going toilet and your wudu breaks, isn't like the overarching rule that when impurity exits your body, your wudu breaks? So that's the Hanafi's argument. The Hanafi's argument is the Quran is not saying when you go toilet, it's actually saying when impurity comes out your body, and usually in the day, the only impurity that usually comes out of everyone is urine and feces. So that's why the Hanafis say this, and they've got examples from hadith narrations to prove this as well. And they've kind of criticized those narrations and said those narrations are not acceptable. But Hanafis have said, the concept is there, and those narrations put together, they give some strength, and it's an established point. That's why they say that wudu breaks. Okay, let's check out some of you guys. What you guys are all at home, yeah? Allah, subhanallah, subhanallah. Yeah, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world on Saturdays. All right. Okay, next. MU. Can you also please advise, if I pray my daily prayers at home now because of virus, will I be sinful? No, you will not be sinful. No. Because remember, the rule is Allah has given dispensation to people. In other words, in normal circumstances, if a person does not, let's say, for example, a man does not go to the masjid for no reason, then that person will be doing something wrong. He may not be sinful necessarily for it, but if a person has a reason, like for example, he's a traveler who is ill, or there's a fear of illness spreading, then he'll be totally fine. He actually gets the same reward, because the Prophet ﷺ, he said to Sa'd ibn Waqqas, he became ill and he thought he was going to die. And the Prophet ﷺ said, look, you're not going to go for battle. He goes, but you will get the reward. In other words, your intention was there that you wanted to go. So Allah will actually, out of His generosity, give you the reward as though you went. I'm worried that shaitan is making me want to pray at home. No, it's totally fine. Angela Smith, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. Uluka Patta, can you guide on janazas, Ustaz? Can you guide on janazas? Can you guide? I mean, you want instructions on janazas? How to do the janaza, you mean? Do you mean the janaza prayer or the washing of the body? Okay. Arnaut, ahlan wa sahlan, Arnaut. Our brother from Albania, mashallah, Arnaut. Albania, isn't it? I was given to read Surah Yasin for 3 different people. Can I combine them with a single Yasin? So is it for like some reward to pass on to people? I mean, yeah, it should be. I mean, it should be with the intention you're reading it for several people. It should be. Yeah, it should be fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. Okay, Isa Khan question. During a portion of the Khilafah of Umar radiallahu anhu, a plague was present in which many senior Sahaba and Tabi'in died. Was Jummah and congregational Salah suspended at that time? In fact, yes, it was. Yeah, in Sham it was. So what happened was when this happened in Jordan, Amwas, Amr ibn As, he actually took the people to a mountain and separated them all. So there was no congregation for several days. And some say it was for a few weeks. And then he brought them back until they were all cured. Yeah, so this idea of, I mean, this is a very common thing that people have been spreading around, as in the issue with regards to there was no Jummah or thing like that. I think it's a lack of reading. People haven't really read into the history of Muslims and haven't even read into like issues. There are many occasions where Jummah, there was actually Hajjs were cancelled because Qaramita had taken over Hajj. There was wars in Mecca, yeah, when in the Khilafah Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. So you can imagine, Abdullah bin Zubayr was actually killed in the Haram. Yeah, so you can imagine that. So what it is, I think a lot of people, when these new things occur, a lot of people realize how they're lacking in reading up about Muslim history, right? And they've only heard a few things from people's talks. So maybe you heard some sheikh give a talk, another to give a talk about some historical thing, and then we kind of think this is all our history. Our history is vast. We have so much history. So much has been written. So I think what should happen now is people should actually go back to the history, read in Andalus, what happened in Andalus, read what happened in Egypt, read what happened in, I was reading on Twitter the other day, some of the scholars actually put up incidents in North Africa, a plague that spread in North Africa, where scholars had to cancel Jummahs and Salats in many of the masajid because it was just killing vast numbers of people. Yeah, and this is, there's actually a narration that I got today. Someone sent me a narration today of, the sheer number of people that started to begin to die in many plagues. There wasn't just one plague, there were multiple plagues, right? So I think a lot of people need to read into this idea of, because I see a lot of people say to me, but did the Sahaba stop Jummah? But his Sahaba didn't go for Jummah on travels, on journeys. On journeys, they didn't go for Jummah. So the idea of this, it being sinful for not praying Jummah, no, we don't believe it's sinful. There's a substitute for Jummah, which is the Dhuhr Salat. So no one is saying that we are cancelling Jummah, right? We're actually saying there's a substitute for Jummah. Okay, if those giving ghusl have to self-isolate, will ghusl have to be done? If families are in isolation and someone passes away, what do we have to do about janazah delay? It's a tough question, I mean, see, this kind of question is like a new question that ulama are faced with. And many of the scholars have mentioned in the books where if a person is unable to do janazah of a body, they don't have to do the janazah, they can bury them like that. And this will be like the shuhada, the martyrs. The martyrs, the janazah, their ghusl is not done, they're not given ghusl. So like that, ghusl, if this is a situation where you can't touch the body, it's extremely toxic or it's extremely harmful to those who are there. Then this is something that also is permissible, yeah. Otherwise, I don't know if this is something which is going to be practical, is to use those the protective hazardous suits, but I don't know if that's going to be practical. So I'm not obviously an expert in these kind of illnesses, so you'd have to speak to some medic about that. But if that is possible, then you should wear the protective gear and perform the ghusl. Assalamu alaikum. Why now? Hope you're doing well. Alhamdulillah. Why now? I'm very good, thank you. We'll look about that. If it gets so bad and government says cremate, what can we do? Yeah, I received that message today. I don't know, I honestly do not know. that's something scholars are going to have to get together and agree. I mean, and it's very frustrating when at the moment scholars can't agree upon issues like congregation. And how are they going to agree upon something like cremation? I think it's very sad when people are going through stress, people are dying, and it's just like it's very sort of like confusing. I know. I mean, in Iran, I think they're already having to bury people in mass graves. Maybe we need to find out from there. So I think scholars need to kind of get together, come up with some solution, national solution. And it shows scholars' unity as well once they come together. Okay. Abdul, people are extremely panicked in the US, New York, Illinois, California now on lockdown. Please make dua. May Allah make it easy for everyone. Subhanallah. You know, sometimes when a problem happens, I'll tell you, when a problem happens in my life, and maybe I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, you know what, it's only a problem in my life. The world is still carrying on. But I mean, when I wake up every morning and I'm thinking, you know what, it's not just a problem in my life. It's not that my routine is going to become disrupted. Everyone's routine is disrupted. Everyone in the entire world. And sometimes I think, look how lucky those people are who are disconnected from the world. Like, these tribes in South America and tribes in certain parts of the world that are disconnected. It's just like these people are just carrying on with their lives. They don't even have realization of what's happening around the world. May Allah make it easy for everyone. Look, what loving the hairstyle, alhamdulillah. So this is basically, I just tie my hair back because if I keep it open, it just kind of goes everywhere. And sometimes when I eat, hair going in your face and your mouth, and it's not very enjoyable, situation. Do you love Imam Ali? Ali radiallahu anhu, we love Ali radiallahu anhu with our hearts. We love every single one of the Sahaba. We love them with our hearts. And, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman radiallahu anhu, Ali radiallahu anhu, Aisha radiallahu anha, all of them, we all love all of them, alhamdulillah. Okay, so cremation, I explained that one. Idris Shah, assalamu alaikum rahmatullah, ahlan wa sahlan Idris Shah. I'm very good, thank you very much Idris Shah. Tasu sange, tasu khay. Ullu kapatta, what's ullu kapatta saying that? What's message has gone too up. Okay. I am doing Jummah at work, 4 or 5 of us. Is this preferable, or shall I tell them to pray Zuhr? I would say pray Zuhr. Because the idea for Jummah, Jummah, technically, let me just explain something about Jummah. According to the scholars, Jummah is actually supposed to be done by the leader of the Muslims or someone that the Muslims leader has appointed. This is who the Jummah is supposed to be done by, because it's supposed to be like the major event in the week. So imagine you have like a big, like a festival or a big sort of like concert, or you have a big, some sort of big event once a week, a massive event everyone comes to. The aim is not, idea of Jummah is not to have little small little ones here and there. Everyone comes to, you see the power of Islam, you see the power of the Muslims. They're all given the advice of the week, the most important news that they're given, right? What they're supposed to do in the week. This is what they're supposed to be told. Now, if everyone's doing the small little Jummahs, you lose the whole point of Jummah. Jummah is supposed to be where everyone comes together. That's why the Fuqaha say, if you can't do Jummah, Hanafis say, if there's no Khalifa, if there's no one that Khalifa has appointed, then there's no Jummah. So technically, there is not supposed to be a Jummah in non-Muslim countries. Everyone's supposed to pray Dhuhr. That's technically how it's supposed to be. But, it's like Jummah is a very important thing to remind the Muslims about that they're Muslim. This is the only one thing in the week that majority of Muslims will be reminded that they're Muslims and reminded about, the faith. So in these times, you pray Dhuhr. You do not pray, if there's no Jummah in the masjid, you don't, get people together and do a Jummah. If you want to do a Jummah, it's fine, but ideally you pray the Dhuhr. Dhuhr is prayed. Okay, Isa Ahmed, cremation halal if burial is too risky. I mentioned that one. Okay, why now? How do we understand the hadith, there is no contagiousness in Islam in the light of current crisis? Okay, so this is a good question again. So basically, when it comes to the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith, he said, La adwa wa la tirata وَلَا حَمَّةَ. Yeah. He said basically there is no contagiousness in Islam. So some of the scholars now, see, when the Prophet ﷺ says something, you have to remember, he's not just going to randomly one day just come out and say to everyone, right, there's no contagiousness in Islam, and then go back in his house. He's not going to do that. That doesn't even make sense. The Prophet ﷺ would have been talking about something in the community, and he would have said this statement, and then someone may have heard that statement in that talk, and then they must have, conveyed it to someone else, and then someone else, and someone else. So just that one snippet of the talk has been conveyed. The context of the talk hasn't been conveyed. So what we have to remember is that whenever the Prophet ﷺ said, we need to figure out, like reverse engineer it, to try and figure out what he was saying. So for example, if the Prophet ﷺ said, there is no faith for a person who has no trust. In other words, if a person is not trustworthy, they have no faith. So lots of Muslims are not trustworthy. I mean, at the moment, lots of shopkeepers are not trustworthy. Yeah, they're hiking the price, they're lying to the customers. So does that mean they don't have any faith? Are they out of Islam? Does that mean their marriages are over? No. So the scholars say what the Prophet ﷺ was saying, he was saying how can a person be a Muslim? In other words, how can they have true faith when they have no trust? He was like telling them off. So the same thing over here applies over here as well, which is that when the Prophet ﷺ said there is no contagiousness in Islam, what was he talking about? Because he has other hadith where he's clearly said, stay away from ill people. Right? He said that. So he said, run away from a person with leprosy like you would run away from a lion. As in, stay away from them. Don't go near them. And the Sahaba understood this as well. And he said this about the people who were in a plague-stricken land, a waba. He said, don't go there. He said, don't go there if you haven't entered. And if you're there, don't get out. So in other words, if this idea of contagiousness was there, so this is why the scholars have mentioned about this. Some of the scholars in the past would obviously interpret this hadith according to their understanding of medical science. And they would say, the Prophet ﷺ said there's no contagiousness, that's it, there's no contagiousness. And they took the words of the Prophet ﷺ literally, without context, nothing. They just said, we are obliged to take the words of the Prophet ﷺ as literal as possible. So the Prophet ﷺ has also said, when you're walking down a road and you see Jews and Christians, push them to one side. He said that. So you have to take that literally. The Prophet ﷺ said that evil is in three things: a house, transport, and women. He said, kill black dogs. He said, kill black dogs. Right. So there's lots of statements the Prophet ﷺ has said, but we interpret them. So we need to know when we're going to interpret and when we're not going to interpret. So this is why the madhabs, this is what they aim to do. They aim to take the words of the Prophet ﷺ and find an interpretation for them, which is going to be appropriate in the light of the Sharia, in the light of the rest of Islam, the ayats of the Quran, the hadith. So this is why the scholars say, yes, the Prophet ﷺ must have been talking about this fear that people had, like waswasa, OCD, some people had that, if I go to someone's house, I'm going to get ill. Like this kind of, what's that word? They had this kind of paranoia, right? They would think, if I go to this place, I'm going to get ill. If I leave my house on Thursdays, I'm going to get ill. Right, so then they began to become, very skeptical people about everything. So the Prophet ﷺ was clearing up for them the idea that, look, there's none of this contagiousness. Okay, it's not contagious. But now we understand later on the scholars, they actually said there is contagiousness. So are they going against the words of the Prophet ﷺ? No, they're not. They're interpreting his words, just like they interpreted his words in many other things as well. So this is why we have to understand things like this. And similarly, like I told you in many times before, the Prophet ﷺ has said things like, honey has cure in it, and the black seed oil is a cure for everything except death. It doesn't necessarily mean every single thing. It's not cure for AIDS, and it's not cure for cancer, it's not cure for... It doesn't necessarily mean that. What it means is that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about certain types of illnesses that maybe exist at his time, and he was saying that there is cure in this for everything. Yeah, so we have to understand things how the Prophet ﷺ says them. And this is why we need to learn the religion properly, rather than listen to a few talks of a few sheikhs here and there, and then we come out with our own understanding of the religion, and then we're trying to online force that understanding onto everyone else. This is unjust. This is a big injustice a lot of people are doing. And on the Day of Judgment, the scary thing is Allah is going to question people about this kind of activity. If you are studying the religion, study it properly and then speak. If you are not studying the religion, then the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man samata naja." Whoever stays silent will be saved. Right, be very careful nowadays. Unfortunately, a lot of people are like criticizing scholars about the decisions that they made regarding the Jum'ahs or regarding other things, and it's like many of them haven't studied much, but they're relaying it from other people here and there, and they're just like, it's very, very, sad situation at the moment. May Allah make it easy for us. Okay. Next. Okay, retail shops shut temporarily. Eventually, they will open back up. Okay, Angela Smith. My daughter-in-law works at hospital. Please pray for all. Yeah, I mean, my sister works hospital as well. So, a lot of these doctors and nurses, they're doing a tremendous job, amazing job, putting their life on the line to save human beings. And, mashallah, you got to give it to them. The reward that these guys are going to get, I don't know if on the Day of Judgment, anyone will be able to measure that reward. Yeah, because they are totally being selfless here. Yeah, like the Quran says about the Ansar, that they were those who yu'thiruna ala anfusihim, would give preference to other people over themselves. Imagine that. Allah in the Quran praises those people who will give up their own sleep and give up their own, for other people, for the sake of other people. Amazing. Haydar Ali, best method to learn Arabic and realistic results from 0 to fluent. So are you talking about learning how to read, like as in how to read the Arabic script, like how to read Quran, or are you talking about how to learn Arabic and understand it? If you want to read Arabic on my YouTube channel, if you check how to learn the Quran, I've got a whole series there you can follow. If you want to learn how to read Arabic, I have a £50 course. It's a course of £50. In 17 lessons, you will learn a tremendous amount. Yeah, without a doubt. There's many people maybe on here that have done this, and you can check it out, inshallah. And there's the details at the bottom of the screen. So if you check at the bottom of the screen, email there. So if you email, 17 lessons is called Arabic in 17 lessons. Okay, what's your message to masajid that are still open and putting their people's life at risk? My message to them is, look, I respect the opinions of those scholars who say that, we should keep the jump. But what I'm saying is, look, we have to look at the number of people that are dying down in Birmingham. The number is just shooting up. It's going too high now. I know very close people whose family members have died because of this. And these guys are people, they don't realize that, in next week, I'm saying this now, but watch next week how many numbers, may Allah protect us, but the number of people next week is just going to be phenomenal, around the world, everywhere. So we have to remember, look, if we are putting our family members' lives at risk, vulnerable people, on the Day of Judgment, wallahi, Allah will question us. Allah is going to question us. And if we are thinking, look, as long as I'm not ill and I have to go, no. You have to remember, you're putting yourself in a situation here. The Prophet ﷺ says everyone is going to be questioned about those they're in charge of. So if you're going to the masjid and you're interacting, not just the masjid, other places as well, don't go to places to eat, restaurants. Don't go to these kind of where there's a big gatherings. If you have to go to the shops, buy your stuff, come back. Wherever there's going to be a big gathering, do not go there. Yeah, because you're putting yourselves at risk. You're putting your family members at risk, because you're going to have to come back to them at home. You're going to have to meet your uncles and aunties and grandparents and parents. They're going to be put at risk, and it's not worth it, I think. Just let everything calm down, and then you can return again. Cremation halal if burial is too risky. I think I mentioned that. Again, I don't know the answer to this. I honestly don't know the answer to this. This is something scholars are going to have to come together to come out with the answer. So a lot of times people think that when a scholar has studied Islam, that they know the answer to everything in the world. You can ask them. We don't know the answer to everything. Just like the doctors don't know the answer to all medical crises, right? Sometimes they just have to come together to come out with some sort of like emergency answer. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. How do we understand the hadith? There is no condition. Okay. Barakah is from Allah. Very true. Okay. Do you think imams and masjid boards will have the blame? The many elderly get and pass away if they keep masjids open. Up north, many masjids are open and people are sleeping. You know what? I just heard a local imam, has apologized to the people because he's contracted COVID, and he's been teaching kids and he's been teaching people without any sort of like health and safety checks. Look at him now, he's apologizing now. It's too late to apologize. This is something we should have been doing earlier. Yeah, and like I said, next week and the week after, we're going to find lots and lots of people that, may Allah save us. Okay, question. During the portion of Khilafah, I think I answered that one. Okay, Isa Ahmed. as well as humanity. Okay, colleagues have had to shave beard as they are medics on the COVID. If they ask me, I am not on the ward, but if my employees ask, will I do this? I mean, if it is a matter of health and safety, then yes, there'll be permission for it. Yeah, there'll be scope for it. If it's a matter of health and safety, definitely. I mean, this is also something which the Hanafis have said regarding a woman, that a woman is allowed to shave her head if it's for medical purposes or if it's for health purposes. Yeah, so there's scope there. Abdul, what is Hijazi school and Iraqi school? What's the difference? Okay, so Hijazi school in fiqh, basically Hijazi school means it was basically an approach. In other words, when we understand the Sharia, when you look at the Sharia, for example, Islam is made up of ayats of the Quran, how they were explained by the Prophet ﷺ. However, they're very limited. The ayats are limited, and the narrations the teachings that we get from the Prophet ﷺ are limited. So now what you have to do is you have to have a methodology how you're going to approach these. So for example, let's say for example in the Quran something is said, and in the hadith something is said, and the hadith, what the hadith says seems to be going against what the Quran says. What do you do in that situation? Like, do you leave the Quran? Do you take the hadith? Do you take the hadith? You leave the Quran? How do you reconcile between the two? This is something which you need an approach for. So this approach that you take, this is what is known as a methodology, usul. So I'll give you an example. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was an incident where the Prophet ﷺ told all the Sahaba, he said everyone must pray their Asr in this particular village, the Banu Qurayda. So the Sahaba left and they were going to go. They prayed their Dhuhr, and they obviously hadn't prayed their Asr. So when these Sahaba were traveling there, one group of the Sahaba, they said, look, the time of Asr is finishing, and because the time of Asr is finishing, we need to sort something out. We need to pray. So they said, we're praying. And the other group said, no, the Prophet ﷺ clearly said you must pray your Asr over there. So the first group said, no, he didn't mean literally pray over there. It was just figurative speech. He was saying, get there as soon as possible, like set off straight away. And the other second group said, no, we're not praying. We're gonna take his words and we're gonna pray over there. So one group prayed on the journey on time, and the other group prayed when they got there after Maghrib. So when they both came to the Prophet ﷺ and they told the Prophet ﷺ what happened, he didn't tell any one of them off. So this shows that the Prophet ﷺ was not after a particular answer. He was actually after the methodology. Like, he was after, how are you going to approach this? So this approach methodology, this differed from person to person. And there was two main approaches. You had the Hijaz approach and you had the Iraq approach. The Hijaz approach was to try and stay within what the Prophet ﷺ said as much as possible. So to try and take his words as literal as possible. Whereas the Iraq approach was more to do with, let's try and understand like the principles. Let's take out the principles from his words, and let's build the whole of our understanding around these principles. And then we'll take his words and we put them into like some sort of like. So the example I gave in the beginning of where we talked about the concept of does blood break your wudu? So the Hijazi scholars, they took the idea that, look, the Quran says when you go toilet, your wudu breaks. And the Iraqi says, no, it's not just when you go toilet. It's actually, going to the toilet is a concept about impurity exiting your body. So whenever impurity exits your body, and thus blood is impurity. So see that approach, it's like how you look at the situation, how you analyze it. It was a difference of analysis. "36 people already. Allahu Akbar. COVID has made you popular." This is the first, I've actually looked at kind of like events in history where big massive things has happened that's affect the Muslim Ummah, and there's always been after it big changes. When the Tatar came, they destroyed the entire Baghdad, ripped it to pieces. 2 million people in one day were slaughtered. And then they tore across the Muslim empire, ravaging everything, destroying everything. And that was a big game changer for the Muslims in them days. And like that, Andalus, Spain was, destroyed by the Spanish. And then the colonialists, when they came to North Africa and they came to India subcontinent, they destroyed, ravaged it. So whenever big kind of things happen that affect masses, there's always something new that's going to happen afterwards. And inshallah, we'll see. Hopefully it's going to be for the better, but we'll see inshallah. Okay, next question for the live stream. Why does Allah refer to Makkah as Bakka in the Quran? It would be absurd if we refer to Manchester as Banchester in an official document. Okay, I think some people probably do call Manchester Banchester, by the way. Anyway, so good question. So why does Allah call Makkah Makkah? I think the thing that you have to understand about this question is you have to understand how Arabic language works. Arabic language works in a very different way in many things than the English language, right? So this is why many people in English find it difficult to try and understand a lot of things in the Quran. They find like very difficult to understand. How can Allah say this? How does Allah say we in the Quran? Isn't Allah one? Why does it say we for? Or for example, like why does Allah mention the past verb about the Day of Judgment which hasn't come yet? So this is all to do with understanding the style of classical Arabic. So I suggest if you really want to understand the Quran, that's what you have to go into. But anyway, I'll explain about Makkah and Bakka. Makkah and Bakka, in the Arabic language, you have this kind of like a style where you're actually allowed to switch like letters over and it doesn't affect the word. So, like in English, you say things like think, and some people say think, and think, right? This is actually something that exists in Arabic. Thumma, thumma. This was something that was totally permissible because it had no massive impact on the language. It was actually considered to be part of the eloquent Arabic language, to be able to shift letters and to keep the meaning as well. So the scholars say Mecca and Bakka were two different dialects of how people call the same city. In other words, there was two common ways of how people used to call Mecca. And, it's like things like, for example, if you look at Old English, you'll find this as well. Like some of the words that were said. Tomato, right? Pronunciation of how some letters are pronounced. Center, Americans, they write center in a different way. English writing in a different way, right? So these kind of like slight differences that you have, this exists in English. So in Arabic, why wouldn't that be possible in Arabic? So Mecca and Bakka are two different ways of how the place was. Allah wanted to preserve in the Quran the two major pronunciations of the city, historical pronunciations, right? That's one. Number two is the word Bakka actually means to stamp, a stampede, to shake, stamp. Bakka yabukku, dakka yadukku. And it's called this because the number of Shia masses of people that used to come to Mecca would make as though there was like a stampede, the large masses of people. So it was called Bakka because of that shaking. And Mecca, they say it's called Mecca because Mecca is from when an animal suckles from the udders of its mother and takes out all the milk. Because people used to come there and take everything. So it was known as Mecca. So in other words, that's another. Third is the actual piece of land is called Bakka. That's the actual piece of land was actually classically known as Bakka. The city's name, entire city, was known as Mecca. So, I mean, this is many of the Mufassirin have actually mentioned this as well. So, I understand it's very sort of like strange for people who are not acclimatized to the rules and laws of Arabic language to find it very strange of how these kind of things are used. Next one. Tonight is Shab-e-Miraj. Please, can you tell us if there's any special ibadah that should be done on? There isn't any special ibadah from my understanding. There's nothing in the Quran regarding the virtue of this night, apart from that the Prophet ﷺ, he travelled, and we don't exactly know the date. So we know the Prophet ﷺ, he ascended into the heavens and he travelled by night. The Quran mentions the travelling by night. The Quran doesn't really go into detail about the ascension. Mi'raj means ascension, the night of ascension. So, but we do know in hadith where the Prophet ﷺ went into the skies and then he met the different prophets that were there and etc. There's a difference of opinion amongst the early scholars. Was this done physically or was this done through his spirit, his soul? How was this done exactly? How did he meet them? There's lots of questions there. But is there any virtue for this night? To my knowledge, no. There's no virtue on this particular night. And if just someone wants to just any time in the year remember this, is totally fine. It's a good thing to do maybe. Okay, in Nul Idah, it is mentioned that a woman in hayd shouldn't be near a dying person. Why is that? And I've mentioned this before. There is nothing before Nul Idah. None of the scholars seem to mention this masala. This masala seems to be something which is mentioned later. There is no hadith evidence for this. There is no Hanafi principle evidence for this, that a menstruating woman is not allowed to be near. There's nothing. So, I mean, this is a very problematic concept itself in later Hanafi works. And I don't see any reason, like it doesn't seem to make any sense to me why a person who is in hayd, or some say, oh, it's because the angels won't come. But then the Prophet ﷺ's wife, she was in the masjid next to the Masjid Nabawi. So if she was in menstruation and she's right next to Masjid Nabawi, then how is that something which is right? Shouldn't she be away from there? And the Prophet ﷺ used to put his head in her lap and he would recite Quran. There's nothing wrong with that. So this is why this kind of rule, sometimes what happens is when you read books of fiqh, you don't just take what one or two scholars say. You have to look at the whole concept within the Hanafi school to be able to understand how to derive a particular sort of approach. Yeah, so I mean, that's what they generally say in the later works. So Nul Idah has mentioned it, and then Imam Ibn Abidin has mentioned his book. But again, even Imam Ibn Abidin has kind of like written under that. He's kind of said, well, we don't exactly know what the reason is for this. Some say it's just makruh tanzihi, and that's what it seems. It's just like a better thing, not a better, it's like a better not to do. That's all. Okay, next. Can you explain how diya, blood money, is calculated today? As most people don't have camels and diya. So, I mean, obviously, I'm not the leader of a country. This kind of issue would be done by the leader of the country. So, the leader of the country, according to their times, they would set a fee, a compensatory like fee for their times. In the Prophet's time, it was 100 camels, or it was 1,000 gold coins, or 10,000 silver coins. So, I mean, if 200 silver coins in today's times works out to about £250, multiply that by 5, which is £1,000. So you're looking at roughly 10 to 20,000 pounds. That's roughly, I think, if it's according to the silver value, and the gold value might be more. So it's all about the government, whatever value they set. Yeah, that's basically how it is. And you can actually find out from like Islamic countries what value they've set for this. Okay, let's check out your questions here. Can you use your influence, please, Ustad? Can I use my influence? Bhai, I don't know what influence you're talking about. Want to advise those on desi areas who are not taking this seriously. To advise masjid to close, please. They are both risking lives. You know, I've tried to. I mean, I'm involved in a few ulama groups, and I've tried to kind of convince many people. Some people have become convinced. Others seem to be. For example, in the UK, there seems to be two approaches when it comes to the Hanafi school. You have one approach, and this is including the Brailwi movement, the Deobandis, and any others. One is, for example, they're waiting for an elder of theirs, from maybe like Mufti Taqi Usmani, or maybe someone else, to give the decision, to say, right, close the mosques, and then they'll listen, right? So they're very, very cautious in this kind of thing, I found. And a lot of them who are being very cautious are Gujarati community. What I found is a lot of the Gujarati mosques, a lot of the Pakistani mosques in Birmingham have closed. A lot of the Gujarati mosques are being extremely cautious on this, and I don't know why. I mean, it's just they're just waiting for Mufti Taqi Usmani to say something. I guarantee if he says something tomorrow on Twitter, they'll close all the mosques. But that's the only thing. I've read some of the fatwas, like fatwas from Mufti Shabi, Mufti Yusuf and others, and I don't feel convinced with their fatwa. It doesn't seem like a very solid fatwa. It seems very, very sort of like a bayan kind of thing that you would say in a talk, but it's not very academic in the sense of from Hanafi point of view. So I don't feel convinced by that. But I don't know. I mean, it's just Wallahu alam. Maybe the government has to step in and force people to close the mosques. That's the only solution, because a lot of people just will not budge for some reason. So we have to respect our scholars. End of the day, we have to have respect for them, but at the same time, we have to put people's lives as a priority over any scholar. Right, life is more important than any scholar at all. And you know, when the Sahaba, there was an incident where Sahaba went on a journey, and one of them, well, basically he was injured in a battle, and at night time he had a wet dream, so he had to take ghusl in the morning, take a bath. So he came to some other Sahaba and he said, what do you guys think I should do? Should I do tayammum? Because I've cut myself, and if I take a bath, the water is going to go in the wound. And they go, no, you can't do tayammum, you have to take a bath. So the poor guy took a bath and he died. So when the Sahaba went back and they informed the Prophet ﷺ about what happened, he came extremely angry at them. And he said, you've killed your companion, may Allah kill you. He said that to them. قَتَلَكُمُ اللَّهِ. He got so extremely angry that a human life, a Sahabi's life, was taken because of a wrong fatwa that was given. So imagine how Prophet ﷺ became extremely angry at someone's life being taken. This happened with, you know, Khalid ibn Walid, where Khalid ibn Walid, he went for a battle, and he heard the people said that, you know, saba'na, 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 which basically meant we've changed our religion, and what they meant was we've become Muslim. And what he done was he went and killed them. He didn't realize. And when the Prophet ﷺ heard this, he came back, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma inni abra'u ilayka mimma fa'ala Khalid. Oh Allah, I ask to be emancipated, freedom from what Khalid has done. I have nothing to do with what Khalid has done. So imagine how upset he was at Khalid ibn Walid. And this also happened with Usam bin Zayd, where a man, you know, he was in a battle and he said the kalima la ilaha illallah, and you know, Usama bin Zayd, he killed the guy. And then when this came to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said, why did you kill him? He goes, oh, he tried to save himself by saying the kalima. The Prophet said, did you open his heart, tear open his heart to check if he was really truthful, saying the kalima? In other words, a person's life is very, especially a Muslim's life, very, very important. Everyone's life's important. But then as a Muslim, you have to, you know, respect people's. So it's just like too overwhelming, the evidence of how important life is. Yeah, so that's just that, guys. Okay, Haydar Ali, why the Hanafi madhab? So the reason I follow the Hanafi madhab is because I'm trained in the Hanafi madhab. So I've studied 9 years the Hanafi madhab. If I was trained in the Maliki madhab, then the Maliki madhab, or the Shafi, or the Hanbali, but I'm trained in the Hanafi madhab. Kamran, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban Kamran. Aisha Siddiqa, Ustad, how can I cover my qada namaz? So you can do it slowly, take your time, do it one by one. After every salat or before every salat, try to do one qada namaz, one qada salat. Just do the fard, do the bare minimum, and that's it. And inshallah, even if you die doing them and you haven't completed them, inshallah, on the day of judgment, hopefully Allah will forgive you, inshallah, because your intention was to complete them. Yeah, just like if a person owed someone money, and then they was paying it off and they died halfway through paying it off, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive that person for that. But the person should still attempt to try and fulfill it. Okay, Muhammad Sa'ad, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, ahlan wa sahlan, Muhammad Sa'ad, nice to meet you, brother. SMB, how will the Kaaba be destroyed at the end of time? Yeah, so at the end of the time, the Kaaba will be destroyed. This comes in Sahih Muslim narration where the Prophet ﷺ said, a man will come from Africa and he will have thin shins and he will go into the Kaaba and he will tear down the Kaaba brick by brick. And this will come in a time where Hajj will be cancelled, Hajj will finish. Okay. Alright, let's check out some of these questions. Is it allowed for a woman to breastfeed a 3-year-old child? According to Hanafis, no. It's only up to 2 years, and Abu Hanifa says 2.5 years, and that's it. You should have weaned him off before that. Please, can you explain if alcohol used in perfume, lotions, medicines is allowed? Yes. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, alcohols in medicines is allowed because this does not fall under the alcohol in the Quran. The alcohol which is prohibited in the Quran is alcohol which is made from grapes and dates. As for the ones in medicines and for the ones in lotions and these kind of things, they are not made from, they are synthetic, they're made in labs basically, and they're not really the same alcohol. It doesn't have the same effect. It's actually poisonous. It'll probably kill you if you're trying to drink it. As for medicines, then according to Abu Yusuf rahimahullah, he says that if the medicine is most likely going to cure you, then you take it. Yeah, and even if it contains alcohol. Is gelatin of halal animal but which hasn't been slaughtered according to Sharia allowed, for example, beef gelatin. So I've spoken to some muftis about this, and there's one mufti I know, Mufti Sarfraz, who's also a chemist. So he's got a degree in chemistry as well. So he told me that if it comes from the hide of the animal, the skin is halal. But if it comes from the bones of the animal, then it's doubtful, he says. Some scholars have allowed it, some scholars have not allowed it, but he told me it's best to stay away from it. But yeah, that's the opinion I kind of follow. What does zawal mean? Is it when the sun is at its peak or when the sun declines? Zawal literally means when the sun starts to decline. But when it goes up to its peak, it like that kind of stop it does. So it goes up, 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 and then it kind of gets to its highest point, and it kind of stops, and it starts to go down. That stopping there is the time where it's considered disliked to pray any prayers. Okay, check some more. So a lot of these questions came last minute. Normally in the week, I'm trying to knock off the questions, but these are some of the questions that's come last minute. So, okay, assalamu alaikum. When traveling on an airplane, how does one know when to pray? Is it according to the area they fly over? If so, how does finding out the prayer time of this place? Like, let's say I'm flying over Spain. How do I know what the prayer time is? Is there a way of finding out the sun? Can you please explain? Also, can one sit down and pray fard prayer on the plane, even if not facing the Qibla? Can Nawaf pray on the plane? Okay, yeah. So you can actually find out the prayer times. There's actually a website. If you actually Google it, just Google how to find out prayer times on a plane. And there's some websites that have actually told, so you can actually, when you're going on a journey, you put in your details, the location where you're traveling. It will tell you exactly what time, what salat to pray. Otherwise, if you don't have that website, you just ask the stewardess, or you kind of make a rough estimate if you kind of think that it's the prayer time. Yeah, so if you watch my Quduri videos, and in there I've mentioned prayer times, and you can just follow those. But yeah, that website's very good. You just have to follow that website. Yes, on the plane, try to pray standing. If there's no space, or if there's a health and safety risk, pray sitting, and it's totally fine. No need to make it up again. Nafal, you can pray sitting in any condition on a journey. You don't have to face the Qibla. You can pray sitting totally, fully. When I go on a journey, I pray my prayer sitting. Yeah, I pray my prayer sitting. And if I am in a situation where I know I'm going to miss the prayers, I combine the prayers then. I combine Zuhr and Asr, and I combine Maghrib and Isha. Yeah, if I know I'm going to miss it. Okay, next. Is Botox on face allowed? It's a way to get rid of wrinkles on face. Yeah, I've mentioned this before. If Botox contains something which is haram, you can't use it. So find out if the Botox ingredients are haram. If they're haram, you can't use it. Number 2, if the doctor said it's going to harm you, you can't use it. Yeah. And number 3, if it's permanent change, then you can't have it. It's got to be something that's temporary, not permanent. Will a woman end up with a husband in Jannah? I mean, will she get the same husband? What if she doesn't want him? No one knows what a person's going to get in Jannah. That's the reality. There are some scholars who say a woman will get her husband, but there's no categorical hadith for it. There's nothing in the Quran to say this, that a woman will get her husband. And if a woman is not happy with the husband she has in dunya, she does not have to have the woman, the husband, that same husband in Jannah. Allah will give her someone better. Yeah, so there's nothing categorical regarding this. Some scholars have said, there's some narrations which say this, but it's not categorical. It's not at that level to become like an aqidah point. Salam. Does zakat for gold have to be given by husband or wife, as gold is investment? So if it belongs to the wife has to give the zakat. If it belongs to the husband has to give the zakat. Also, what would zakat for modern times be payable on? Pension savings. So on pension, I actually done on my YouTube channel, I've done a whole crash course on zakat. So check it out in my crash course list. And I explained about pensions, I've explained about savings, all these things in detail. I've done it. So on my YouTube channel, check out crash courses, go to the playlist, and in there's a crash course and there's one on zakat, and I've done a very detailed explanation. Can one pray Fajr after a time on masjid calendar if you believe sun hasn't risen? If you believe it hasn't risen and you've got proof for that, then you can pray, yeah. But if you haven't, then I'd be cautious and I'd stick to the calendar. Has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tawfiq from us been because of human sins from entering masjid and performing umrah? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he missed many prayers in his life. It doesn't mean he sinned. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on many occasions he missed Fajr. This is proven in Sahih Bukhari and other hadith as well. So it doesn't mean he was sinful. And likewise, Sahaba in their days, they missed prayers as well because of calamities and wars and things like that. So it doesn't mean that they were sinful. So no, it doesn't necessarily mean sinful, but test definitely is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we should always remember that whenever a test comes from, we all affected by this test, and we all should try and comfort one another in this. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Mufti Sahab. If a woman gets wet when she watches, okay, I think this is a private one. So kids are. I'm gonna put a disclaimer up. So this one I'll answer this one privately. So I'm sure kids are watching this. So kids, yeah, no, listen to this kind of over 18 questions. Okay, so is autopsy allowed in our Sharia? Is paternity testing valid as proof of lineage of child? So no, right? So first of all, autopsy, if there is a reason for autopsy, for example, if autopsy has to be done in order to find out who did the murder, or for example, like autopsy has to be done to find out what reason the person died of so that they can save other people, then that would be valid grounds to do so, right? So otherwise, if autopsy is done just for the sake of it, for no other reason, then it wouldn't be allowed. Is paternity testing valid as proof of lineage of child? So paternity testing, no, it's not, because lineage is based upon marriage. So in other words, as long as a child is born in marriage, the lineage is valid. If it's not born in marriage, then there's no lineage, even if it can be proven biologically. Yeah, so that's according to the Hanafi school. Do you know Sheikh Faraz Rabbani? His online Hanafi classes are amazing. I don't know him personally, but I know people who are very close to him, and I've heard that he's a very wonderful scholar, mashallah, very knowledgeable as well. And I do recommend lots of people to watch his videos and his Seekers Hub. They have many free courses, and I'd advise people to benefit from them, enroll for them. You know, mashallah, they're doing a wonderful job, alhamdulillah. Was Medina ever shut down before? Yes. Unfortunately, there was in the year 63, 64 Hijrah, there was actually, unfortunately, a very, very bad thing happened in Medina. Women were raped in Medina. There was pillaging. They were fighting. And, you know, this was known as the year of what was the name for it? I forgot the incident, where the army came in and they actually, you know, did for several days, and they say that, you know, salats were even prayed in Masjid Nabawi. So unfortunately, it did happen. And historically, after that, yeah, definitely. The thing we have to remember is, I think a lot of people, they seem to think Makkah and Medina, they are very magical places. Nothing bad ever happens there. Unfortunately, historically bad things have happened there. The Hajar Aswad was actually stolen for 20 years. It was taken over. The Kaaba was. It was stolen for 20 years, and it was broken to pieces. The pieces were sent back. So many sad things have happened in Islamic history. This is why, unfortunately, a lot of people, what they tend to do is they tend to romanticize Islamic history, and they give talks on it, and they make Muslims seem as though Muslims have always been amazing people, and all Muslim leaders have been the best people in the entire world. And Boris Johnson, you know, they all of them were better than Boris Johnson, you know, Trump and all these things. Some of them were evil people, unfortunately. Vicious, evil brothers fighting each other, destroying armies, killed because two leaders of two different cities or two different areas wanted to, you know, fight. And it was very sad. Unfortunately, women were raped, children were abused. Sad thing that happened in history. It didn't happen all the time, but what I want to show is that, look, as Muslims, we have to be fair as well. When we kind of criticize how the West do things, we always have to at the same time, you know, be balanced and look at how Muslim history had very bad, evil people in there. Just look at the dictators now. Look in Syria. What's his name? Yeah. And look in other places as well, how they've abused and tortured and, you know, astaghfirullah. Very sad. Okay, there's a hadith that Rajab is the month of Allah. Why is it so? Can you explain? So I've not come across this hadith. Many of the scholars have said this hadith is very weak. So I don't know. If you can provide me with the reference of this hadith, then I can look it up in more detail. I can't help feel that Allah is angry at us, and that's why this virus is here. Is this a wrong feeling? You are going to naturally feel like this. A lot of people are going to feel that Allah is angry at us. But no, we always have to remember, look, hardships came to prophets. Prophets were slaughtered, prophets were murdered. In one day, 36 prophets, Imam Ibn Kathir says, were slaughtered in one day. There were Sahaba were murdered, slaughtered. Sahaba saw famine. Sahaba saw earthquakes. Many of the Sahaba's children were killed in plagues. There's actually a book written by Imam Ibn Hajar to talk about the illnesses, pandemics and plagues that affected Muslims historically. And he talks about many Sahaba lost so many family members to this. It doesn't mean Allah is angry with everyone. It just means this is how the world works. This is how things work in the world. And sometimes these kind of things are just triggered, right? From whatever reason. So people say there was someone that ate a bat and it started from that, and then everyone wants to find that bat eater and batter him, knock him out. But the reality is maybe it was something else. Maybe it was that was just a trigger for it. Allah knows best. Nowadays, many Muslims have dogs. What's the ruling of having dogs as pets? I've heard that hadith regarding qirat of goods. So according to the Hanafis, the ruling is basically that having dogs is allowed if you have a purpose for them, as long as there's a purpose and it's just not there just for namesake. So dogs for the blind, dogs for sniffer dogs, security dogs, shepherd dogs, and any sort of dogs of that sort that has a function is allowed. Some have even said, like, to keep a dog for comfort purposes, like because a person feels lonely, to comfort them, right? Because they're scared to be alone. This is for comfort. Then that's also allowed as well. So when we say for a pet, there's like different reasons people say. Generally, I would say that a person should avoid it. But the thing we have to remember is these ahadith that mention about keeping dogs. This was in a time where the Prophet ﷺ put a full ban on dogs, because the Arabs were actually spending more of their wealth, more of their time with dogs. And so when Islam came, the Prophet ﷺ, he banned everyone because it was just crazy. People were spending so much on their dogs, dog fighting and this and that. And the families were being, ignored, neglected. So the Prophet ﷺ said, no one's allowed to keep a dog. And then later on, he said, I told you to kill dogs. We said, now don't kill any dogs, kill the black dog. So there was a certain type of black dog, species of black dog around Medina that was, so it maybe had some sort of illness or something, and he told people to kill it, to eradicate it. So that's the kind of reasoning behind these. And that's why he mentioned very strict rulings that anyone who has a dog in their house, the angels won't come. Anyone who has a dog in the house, that so much reward is, because there was a context behind it of why he was saying this. Certain time, certain place. Okay, almost finished there. Okay, there's one last question on this, and Curious Cat, and then I'll come to you guys. Can Ya'juj and Ma'juj refer to the coronavirus? Consider the following. It affects the whole world and has caused deaths. People panicking and major lockdowns. Could it be that coronavirus was around at the time of Zulqarnain and he managed to contain it somehow, and now it has re-emerged? Ya'juj and Ma'juj drinking could refer to dehydrating coronavirus sufferers. Arrows to the heavens could interpret it as no discrimination between the two. In fact, whether at the bottom of the economic ladder, of the top of the economic ladder, it's narrated that the region of Ya'juj and Ma'juj will end. Could be when the vaccine is developed, as mentioned in narrations that Ya'juj and Ma'juj are huge in number and viruses multiply extremely fast, so no wonder Ya'juj and Ma'juj are mentioned as being large in number. Research by scientists in China has revealed 2 different types of coronavirus, 2 nation tribes. What do you think? I think, mashallah, you've got a lot of time on your hands to come up with this. Even I couldn't come up with this. These kind of conspiracies, first of all, I think this is a good conspiracy, but like this, many people can come out with other conspiracies as well. Maybe someone might say this is Dajjal. The Dajjal has one eye. Maybe scientists might find that Corona has one eye. Maybe they might find out somehow. It only sees in one way. Dajjal is going to appear from the east, and coronavirus appeared from the east. Someone might say Dajjal is going to affect the entire economy of the entire world. Coronavirus infected the entire economy of the entire world. Dajjal is going to stop people from becoming religious. Coronavirus to stop people from going for Umrah and Hajj. And I think it's a very far-fetched, but I would just say you've got a lot of time on your hands, whoever wrote this, and you deserve a reward for writing all that. But yeah, I think it's far-fetched, a bit far-fetched. I'm not too keen on these. I mean, I think probably someone who'd be interested is I guarantee that Imran Hussein. He'll be very interested in these kind of things. Maybe he might come up with something even better. Okay. Burchan, I'm going to call you Erdman. I can't pronounce the full name. How to make sure that my donation is actually received by those who are in need these days? I'm not sure where to donate it. Are there any reliable charities you would recommend? I'm not too sure, I don't know too much about charities. The charities that I generally kind of give to Ummah Welfare Trust and GRT. Asufa Institute as well has links with some charities that they support, but I honestly can't say, because the problem is, you see, what happens is, what we have to remember is charities try their best end of the day, and it doesn't always 100% get to the people, because sometimes, very few occasions, the money might be taken by governments. It might get caught up in something else and war-torn countries. So, but anything that a person gives, they don't have to worry about the rest of it, inshallah. As long as you gave it with a good intention, inshallah, you consider your charity to be done. You don't have to worry about it getting into the stomach of the poor. You just have to do what Allah says in the Quran: unfix, spend. Allah says spend. Allah doesn't say in the Quran put the food in their mouth. Allah just says spend. As long as you've spent, khalas, and you've done due diligence, inshallah, should be fine. Kamran, I feel people are going to get OCD with coronavirus around. Yeah, definitely. I think they are gonna. Anxiety. These things happen naturally. Social sciences, and on these kind of things. They do studies on these. They do kind of like surveys, and they do simulations of, if there is an earthquake, what are the natural things that are going to happen after that? What are the byproducts, the consequences? So there's going to be displacement. There's going to be famine. There's going to be lack of food. There's going to be illnesses spreading. There's going to be all these kind of other problems out there. Sidi Ahmed, Salam Sheikh. He said he then got married after that non-mahram child. But he didn't tell his wife yet. What's your advice? I don't understand. He said he then got married after that non-mahram child, but he didn't tell his wife. Yeah, what's your advice about this? So I don't. Sorry, brother. I don't understand this. What you're saying. If you can write the whole thing out, exactly, because you wrote somewhere at the top there. You write at the top there. I can't remember, because so many questions that were asked. So if you can be more specific, maybe write it out fully. Because I can't see the message. Okay, MP, your hairstyle is Urtugal hairstyle when his hair was long. Yeah, no, my I need to cut my hair. So it's a bit oily today. This is, I've got to kind of put it back. Okay, Kuduri lesson part 2. Could do lesson part 2. SMB going to miss Taraweeh. Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to miss it, man. SMB, how do I join online lessons? Will there be a new link? Yeah, so Sofa should have sent out, if you're a student in Sofa, they should have sent out to you emails. If they haven't sent an email out to you, send them an email, and then someone should get back to you saying they haven't received any links, and then they should be able to help you there. Adil Haider, Ahlan wa sahlan Adil Haider. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How you been, bro? Isa Ahmad, will Dajjal be in a human being or machine? In the form of a human. Modern robots are becoming more human-like. He could also be. It seems as though Dajjal is going to be like a human form, like a biological form. He's going to be in a biological form. Allah knows best, but that's what the narration seemed to indicate. We don't know when he comes. We'll have more understanding, but from the narration, that's what we seem to get. Ramadan will be interesting during this. Won't be the same, especially if masjids remain closed, as Taraweeh will then be a prayer at home. Yeah, definitely. Someone's mashallah, MP, you've done the security job with Joseph React. Faris Abbas, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've opened a bank account for under 19s, as it is the only account I can open. Unfortunately, I have looked at every single bank company, but they offer interest. I went to a branch and asked if they could offer no interest, but they told me it's not something they deal with. Do you have anything I can do? Yes, I have a bank account, and my bank account makes interest, and what I do is every year I take out the interest and I give it to the poor. That's what you do. That's what the scholars say. Can you tell me which one is most important out of these sunnah salats? Sunnah muakkada, ghayr muakkada? Yeah, sunnah muakkada. Abdul, such a great explanation of La Adwa. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan. Faris Abbas, do you have anything? Okay, Sidi Ahmed, what's about locating your qibla towards the sun rising location? What's about locating your qibla towards the sun rising location? No, we don't face the sun. I mean, are you talking about finding the qibla by looking at where the sun rises from? Yeah, I mean, you can do that if you know where the sun rises from and which part of the earth you're on. You can kind of work out where the qibla is. Yeah, that's a good way of working out. Wa iyyakum Faris. SMB, will you be sinful if you increase the prices of supermarket products at this rate? If you increase it to profit from the people unfairly, then that's wrong. That's sinful. Otherwise, but if you increase it because you've got no choice, because everything's increasing and your costs are increasing, then hopefully you won't be sinful. Yeah, so this is considered to be wrong, ihtikar and these kind of things that come in the hadith. Those are impermissible if you're doing it just to profit from the vulnerable. Muhammad Awwal Yamir, am I saying it right? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Some says innovation is divided into two, good and bad. The others say all are misguidance. What is the reality behind it? So I mentioned actually this last week regarding bid'ah, but I'll mention it again inshallah for those who weren't there last week. So basically, Islam, imagine Islam, like when Allah says in the Quran, He has completed the religion for you. Imagine Islam like a jigsaw puzzle that has, let's say, 100 pieces. For argument's sake, it has 100 pieces. Now, if you add another piece, 101 piece, or 102 piece, or 103 piece, that's going to affect the entire picture because there's no place to put it. Does that make sense? So if you try to add another piece to this jigsaw puzzle, you are going to spoil it, ruin it. So this is why in Islam, adding anything to Islam that is not part of Islam, that is not in the Quran, adding anything else to it is not allowed. So imagine this. Imagine you have a table that you put the jigsaw puzzle on. And let's say, for example, you switch a light on to see the jigsaw puzzle. And let's say, you roll up your sleeves to do the jigsaw puzzle. So rolling up your sleeves, having a table and having a light is totally allowed because that you're not adding to the jigsaw puzzle. You're only using these to enhance the jigsaw puzzle, to make it easier to be able to fit. So this is why in Islam, there are certain things, as long as you're not adding them to Islam, but you're using them to facilitate Islam, then that's allowed. So for example, like building a mosque, right, with a minaret. Minaret is not part of Islam. Or a dome is not part of Islam. Or for example, like having multi-floored madrasas is not part of Islam. But if you have it, it's okay because you don't believe it to be part of Islam. What you believe to be part of Islam is the thing that happens in there, like the lessons, the dars, or the salats, or the adhan, right? And so therefore the scholars say, as long as you do something which is in the Quran, or you do something that's done in the Sunnah, or it's done by the early people, the Sahaba, Tabi'in, and you believe it to be rewarding or punishable, then it's permissible. So for example, like if you believe pork is haram in Islam, that's in the Quran, therefore it's not innovation. But if you believe, for example, like driving a car is haram, you have to prove from the Quran or from the Prophet ﷺ or from the early generation, because when you said haram, you're adding a piece to Islam. By saying haram, you're adding another piece. So you can only add those pieces that are already in Islam. Does that make sense? So this is why some people say, the table, that's an innovation, but it's a good innovation because it helps you hold the table, hold the jigsaw puzzle. And the light is a good innovation because it helps you see the puzzle. And rolling up your sleeves is a good innovation because it helps you do the puzzle in a better way. So that's why there's lots of things that we do which were not there in the time of the early people, but it's allowed because we don't believe it to be rewarding itself or punishable. So that's why they say about the innovation, that innovation, some say innovations of two types: good innovation, bad innovation. Bad innovation meaning it's sinful if you try to add another piece to Islam. And good innovation is anything which is, as long as you believe there's only 100 pieces, but everything else you add is just to support Islam, then it's okay. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Ya Allah. Okay. Farhad Khan. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Ahlan wa sahlan. Marhaban. Sharif Will. Assalamu alaikum. Ahlan wa sahlan. Sharif Will. In Surah Hajj, Allah says, I can't read that properly. حنفاء لله غير مشركين به ومن يشرك بالله فكأنما خر من السماء فتخطفه الطير أو يهتهوي به الريح في مكان سحيق. The balagha. You know what? You guys know me, man. If I start the balagha, I can probably take out from this verse, at least 15 to 20 points of balagha in this, and I think it's going to take too much time. So I mean, balagha points. You check out my Surah Naba series, and you'll know why. Yeah, my Surah Naba series, which is about 19 lessons, I cover the entire balagha of Surah Naba, and each lesson I usually mention between 15 to 20 points of balagha in every ayah. So I mean, I don't want to use these. I don't want to use these Q&As for lessons. I don't want to teach lessons in this. So I'd rather just answer questions that you have. Specific question, I'll try to answer that. Assalamu alaikum. Musa and Khidr are usul and masail drawn from the situation of Musa experienced? No, not to my knowledge. Not directly from that. No. I mean, there might be some like side masail that are drawn from it, but not usul. White elephant. Ahlan wa sahlan, white elephant. It's been a while. Yes, very, very long time. White elephant. Jamal Hussein. Wa alaikum assalam, brother. Ahlan wa sahlan. MU. Can I hold my child, my arms on lap whilst praying namaz if she starts to cry? Yes, there's permissibility for that. But try not to make too much movements. Hanafis say in fard salat you shouldn't do it. In nafal salat it's totally permissible. But in fard salat you should avoid it. But if there's no other way, like in fard salat, no one to take care, then you're allowed to do that there. Okay. M. Hanif, Ustad, majority of Gujarati mosques in Preston have closed. Oh, have they? Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Excellent, excellent. I think a lot of people in Leicester, I think there's a lots of mosques still open. I don't know in Bolton, if that's the case in Bolton as well. And I don't know anywhere else where this in Birmingham a lot of the mosques have closed, alhamdulillah. Now I'm saying alhamdulillah, I don't mean alhamdulillah in a derogatory way. I'm saying alhamdulillah as in, we quickly need this virus to quickly finish so that we can reopen the mosques again. How long will it take for the religions to unite over the coronavirus? Allah knows best. Yeah, Allah knows best. Do you prefer leather-bound books over hardcover paperback books? I don't really mind reading. I actually like reading from PDFs. So I have my trusty iPad with me, and I have loads of books. I mean, I read from this. I can show you some of them because I've got time. Because alhamdulillah the questions are done. But yeah, so this is like I don't know if you guys can see it or not. But those are like books. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see or not. But those are basically like loads of books that I have on there, and I have a pen, and I make annotations and notes. So that's why I like it. Adib Shams, can you do a book review, please? Yes, Adib, I will do one for you, bro. MP Boris Johnson should order all religion buildings to close the same way he told pubs. Then they'll have to listen. Yeah, definitely. He'll probably do it anyway. I mean, I think by next Friday, all the mosques will close anyway. Currently, I heard the Gujarati mosque going to say Public Health England can't make them close. They can only advise. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? But the idea is that how risky is it? That's what we say. How much risk is there? So we have lots of examples in fiqh, and inshallah I'm going to be doing a video. I was just doing it today, and I've got a bit left to do and editing. Hopefully I should put it up tomorrow. It's about the idea of hardship in Islam. So the idea of to what degree do we take hardship to be a means of dispensation, rukhsa in Islam, right? So I've kind of drawn out some scenarios. I've gone through some concept of la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. So hopefully I'm going to put that up. I might do a series and let you guys decide if I should do a few episodes on that. But yeah, I think that's an important thing for people to realize of the idea of dispensation in Islam. Look about Jazakallah khair for all your guidance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you immensely and keep you safe. from COVID-19 and all illnesses. I mean, and you too as well, and your family as well. And Ulukabata's family, if you're watching, then all of you guys, yeah, give your dad, yeah, or if your wife's there, give your husband, yeah, pat on the back, mashallah, for all the kind words he says about me and du'as that he makes for me. Okay, Isa Ahmed. Okay, White Elephant. Is it okay to watch movies and look at memes? Is it okay to watch YouTubers like PewDiePie? Is it okay to listen to any music? I mean, there's a lot of questions you have, White Elephant. I think you're doing qadha of all the days you've missed, catching up on all the questions. So, is it okay to watch movies and look at? So, if as long as the movie doesn't contain anything that's something that's vulgar or wrong in that sense, nakedness, then it should be okay. And YouTubers and stuff like that, yeah, they should be okay. PewDiePie seems okay. I don't think he does really kind of rude, vulgar things. Is it okay to listen to any types of music? I've done some past, if you check my past ones, I've talked about music in great detail. But these are kind of questions that, the concept is that, is it going to bring benefit to your life? That's the kind of thing, isn't it? So if it's going to bring harm to your life, it's going to, spoil your day, if it's going to cause a person who's addicted to just keep watching movies and binge watch and affect the character of their children at home, then they shouldn't watch it. It doesn't make sense why you're watching these kind of things. Sheikh Alim Ar-Rahman, is IOU a reliable source for learning alim course? What difference will it make for the student of knowledge on Islamic course like IOU and traditional alim course in Madrasa of India? IOU, what's an IOU? I don't know what IOU is. What does that stand for? IOU. Mufti Sahib, do you know Muhammad Hijab? I've heard of him, but I don't know him personally. I've watched many of his videos as well. He's a nice guy. Seems like a very nice chap. Sharif, will classical ulama point nikah al-misyar of view versus contemporary ulama? I mean, nikah al-misyar is simply basically where a man and a woman get married, but the man and the woman, they waiver each other's rights. So like the woman waivers her rights. She says to the husband, look, you don't have to provide for me. You don't have to give me any money, anything. I'll live in my own family's house. You can live in your own family's house. And we can just meet each other whenever we want. That kind of nikah, misyar. So as long as nikah is done properly, witnesses are there, parents have given permission, etc., then nikah should be fine. And if she wants to waiver her rights and he wants to waiver his rights, then that nikah can be fine. But I mean, it shouldn't be like a secret nikah where it's hidden, because the whole point of nikah is a'linu bin nikah. A'linu, tell people, publicize it. And then, why have a secret nikah? Why do you want a secret? What is it, like CIA or something, FBI? Flames, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, kayfa haluk? Alhamdulillah, ahlan wa sahlan. Ahlan, hayyak Allah, ya Flames. Wa kayfa halukum antum? Wa kayfa haluka aw ki? Ana la adri. Min ayyihima ant. Sharif will, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, what did he lose? So Yaqub alayhi salam in the Quran mentions that Yaqub alayhi salam, he lost everything, as in family, and Allah gave it all back to him again. Narrations mention that he became so ill that he became bedbound, and all of his body became paralyzed and afflicted with some sort of illness, and then Allah cured him. S. Khan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope everyone is well and keeping firm trust in Allah's provision and qadr. Let's pray these corona role are over before Ramadan Tarawih. Yeah, inshallah. Ameen, guys. Sheikh Alim, is the start of coronavirus and what's happening in Palestine, India, a start of an end of days? Allah knows best. I mean, the thing is, every society thinks the events that take place in their age are like the last events before the Day of Judgment. So I guarantee people who were in World War II thought that this was the thing that was going to bring the Dajjal. And people in World War One must have thought that as well. And the people, when they were, the British colony, when they went to India and Pakistan, India rather, and they destroyed everything there, they thought this was the coming of Dajjal. So I think everyone in history, when they see a big calamity, they think that is the big calamity that's going to happen before the coming of Dajjal. So Allah knows best. Maybe after this there might be something worse than this. Who knows? Allah knows best. No one imagined that this could ever happen. I mean, obviously the statisticians, they knew this, right? They kind of knew this was going to happen and they kind of told governments that this is a big risk of happening. And worse, this can happen. Imagine a meteorite from space came and hit the Earth. That could have devastating effects. Allah knows. Okay, Sidi Ahmed. I mean, he didn't tell his wife about the child, and the child is using his surname. Is that sin? If so, then what's your advice about? Yeah, I mean, the child can use a person's surname, as long as the child, he doesn't attribute the child to himself. So if he's not in the wedlock, if the child is not, if it's born out of fornication, wedlock, then he can't legally, in the Islamic courts, he can't attribute the child to himself. He can't say, I'm the father of the child in the courts. But if you meant it metaphorically, then maybe, yeah. Will Quduri Kitabun Nikah continue? Quduri Kitabun Nikah. Okay, I did make some videos of Kitabun Nikah, didn't I? Long time ago. Oh yeah. No, I don't think that's gonna continue. I'm just gonna go through Salat onwards. Faris Abbas, Sheikh, can you go through Bayquniya text on Mustalah al-Hadith? Inshallah. I'm actually going through it with Asufa students at the moment. We're going to start next week actually, but that's part of the Asufa course that they do. But yeah, maybe in the future, inshallah, I can maybe go through it. Yeah, inshallah. It's not really important text. I don't think it's important text. In Usul Fiqh Hadith. It's not very sort of mu'tamad book. Khan Kalkan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it permissible for a Muslim woman to wear makeup in public where non-mahram men will see her? So again, this kind of question is like when we talk about women wearing makeup, it's not like a black and white question. It's not like if a woman wears makeup, if 10 women wear makeup, yeah, or like some people call it fake up. If 10 women wear makeup, their makeup is not going to be the same. As in, if you look at them, some are going to look like clowns, and some are going to look like queens, and some are going to look like something else. So when we say, is a woman allowed to wear makeup, rather the question should be, is a more of a question that what type of makeup can a woman wear? So we know a woman is actually encouraged to beautify herself for her husband, and from family members. But when it comes to outside, then to make herself deliberately look attractive, that is something which is disliked in Islam. Right? To deliberately make herself look attractive, whether it's to do with the clothing, that she wants people to look at her, whether it's to do with perfume, that's something which is disliked. So therefore, if it's a light form of makeup, which is just to slightly enhance the looks, not too much, or just cover up, some sort of skin issues, then I think that should be okay. Okay, next, Sheikh Alim. In the arrival of Dajjal soon by the signs, I know it's allowed to predict, but I want to understand your contemporary issues happening. I think Dajjal's arrival is very soon, but I don't know exactly. Watch my video on Dajjal. I've actually made a video on Dajjal, or an audio. I gave a talk on Dajjal, the arrival of Dajjal, and I think you should listen to that. But yeah, I think he's gonna come, but I wouldn't really stress myself too much. I think get on with your life. So some people just focused every day, just focused. Is he coming? Is this war a sign of Dajjal? Is this particular incident or this breakthrough in science sign of Dajjal? Everything's could be a sign of Dajjal. Might not be a sign of Dajjal. But I think we shouldn't waste our times in trying to figure all this out. Just let it happen. We can't stop it from happening, but what we can do is control our own lives. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. YS. Sharif Will. Assalamu alaikum. Fair enough. How would binge swiped away by birds and blow away by the wind be understood by the Arab of that time? How would binge swiped? How being swiped? Oh, being swiped away by birds and blow away by the wind be understood by the Arabs? I don't understand. Being swiped away by birds and Arabs. Okay, Anisa the Queen. Wa alaikum assalam. Queen Anisa, mashallah. This is not your palace. Okay. Anyway, how are you, Anisa the Queen? YS, I would like to ask you a question. If I want to pray with my parents, how should we pray? Me next to my father and my mother behind us, or in other position? Yeah, so basically the way you pray is how many of you are there? If there's 3 of you, your father would if your father's going to lead, your father would stand, you stand next to your father, and then your mother would stand behind in a row on her own. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Sheikh Alim, Islamic Online University. I don't have much knowledge about Islamic Online University. I don't know their syllabus, I don't know who their teachers are, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. Talha Chowdhury, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Why do some people accuse Imam Abu Hanifa as being erroneous and not as knowledge as some of the other imams? I see the good question. This is mainly because of what is known as contemporary jealousy. So this happened, unfortunately, in the time of Abu Hanifa. Not just Abu Hanifa, there were people who criticized other scholars at that time as well. So, you had people who criticized Imam Bukhari, people called Imam Bukhari deviant, evil, people called Imam Ahmad names as well, and so forth. Imam Shafi, some people disliked Imam Shafi. So this is something that happened, but Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah is someone who was criticized, yeah? And that's fine, he's a human being, he's not a prophet of Allah, he's a human being, he makes mistakes. He said, most of his things that he said was agreed upon by the scholars. Many of the things he said was disagreed upon by the scholars, by some of his students as well. So we treat him as a human being, just like we treat any scholar as a human being. And Imam Malik said that everyone's statement is taken and rejected apart from the Prophet ﷺ. So this is a whole concept if you study the science of usul hadith, you will see this frequently happen, where people will criticize, people have criticized Darqutni, people have criticized Ibn Jawzi, people have criticized Ibn Hajar, people have criticized Imam Dhahabi for various things. Now, it doesn't mean that their criticisms are taken seriously. In their cases, the criticism is not taken seriously. It's only, certain types of criticism. So there's a rule in usul hadith which is jarh al-mu'asir la yu'tabar. Yeah, so the criticism of a contemporary is not considered because there could be an element of jealousy or some other sort of issue involved. So a very good books on this are written by Sheikh Zaid al-Kawthari. He's written very good books on this. Sheikh Abdul Rashid Nu'mani and Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda. So these three have written a lot extensively on these kind of issues that people have raised against Abu Hanifa, and they've answered them as well. Angela, I mean, you have a lot of debt. Okay. You mean you have a debt to someone? I don't understand. What was that in context of? Okay. Abu Nant. That sounds like a strange name. What do you, by urine dropping just 5, 10, 15 minutes of you after urinating? I have to work on construction site. Hanafi, greetings from Germany. Ahlan wa sahlan. Okay, so what do you do about urine droppings? Okay, so basically what you do is, what I would suggest is, first of all, if you go to the toilet, after you go to the toilet, you sit there for a little while, maybe cough, maybe stand up, maybe sit back down, maybe do the moonwalk if you want. Basically, you want to so when you urinate, basically the urethra is like a bend in a pipe. So when you urinate, there's some drops that are left inside the pipe, and they have to come out. So for some people, they come out very easily. For some people, they have to do a bit of walking around, maybe sit down somewhere, maybe get up, maybe cough, and they come back to the toilet and then they dry. So what you can do, I would suggest, is when you go to the toilet, is after you've done everything, is put some tissue inside your underwear and then let the drops come out and then throw the tissue away and then do your wudu. Yeah, I think that's the best thing to do if you can. And if it's something that's persistent, keeps on coming, then I would say just do your istinja as best as possible. Spill some water in your underwear, like some splashes of water, a few drops, and then just carry on, and anything comes out, the Hanafi say you'll be absolved of the ruling. Yeah, your wudu will be done. So those are two options. Talha Chowdhury also on sub. Why do, and Ahlan wa Sahlan from Germany. Yeah, is it Guten Tag? Talha Chowdhury also on sub. Why do people accuse a Hanafiya of bid'ah due to having a congregation dua after Fard Salah? So congregation's dua after Fard Salah, like we said, remember I mentioned earlier on about the jigsaw puzzle, 100-piece jigsaw puzzle, right? If you believe that having a congregational dua is special and this is something that Prophet did continuously, then that's a bid'ah. That's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. But if you do it now and again, believing that it's not necessarily part of the jigsaw puzzle, but it's just something which is good to do now and again, then that's fine. So this is what Sheikh Anwar Shah Kashmiri says, this is what Sheikh Yusuf Banuri says. They say that the dua after salat should not be done continuously in congregation. You do your own du'as, fine, but congregation du'as all the time, this is not proven from the Prophet ﷺ's time after every salat. Okay, Anisa, the Queen, IOU is International Open University, used to be used to by Dr. Bilal Phipps. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Alim Ar-Rahman, what is the best tafsir book to start for a person with some knowledge? I have Ma'rif al-Quran and Tafsir Ibn Kathir. If anything else, if you can let me know. Yeah, you know, In the Shade of the Quran is a very good tafsir. Yeah, so Sayyid Qutb, In the Shade of the Quran, it's a very good tafsir. I mean, very, like, it has a different insight. Angela Smith, thanks for explaining IOU. Okay, Muhammad Baker or Bakr. I heard from someone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the ruh personally of Sayyidina Fatima instead of the angel of death. Is this true? I've never come across it in the authentic narrations. Sheikh Ali Murrahan, my question about Islam University and traditional alim course in madrasa is because I am working professional and looking to acquire Islamic knowledge in my free time. What's the best? Okay, so I mean, what I would suggest is you look at your situation, and if you are working full time or you have a job as well, then I would suggest instead of maybe going to a full time madrasa, part time, or try to find some online Islamic courses that you can do. On my YouTube channel, I mean, I have a course in the bottom of the screen. There's a email there, and basically what I do is I have a 17 lessons where you can really get into Arabic. You really start on reading, understanding, and you start being able to translate into Arabic. So 17 lessons for £50, and then from there you can start working your way up and studying other things and focusing on wherever you're interested in. Yeah, so that's a course. That's a course that you can try, inshallah, and I've designed it for that purpose as well. Flames, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is the ruling if masjid are still closed in Ramadan if we only know short surahs, online tarawih, if internet connection during sajda will be in sajda forever? Imagine you have one of those, like those kind of like, what do you call them? Those, when you get the kind of like repeating the loop. Imagine it goes into loop. You're going up and down into ruku, back and forth, back and forth. So my tea's gone cold as well. Yeah, so I would say just pray at home. Pray at home, the surahs that you know. Yeah, recite those. And inshallah, you should be fine. It's like, I know that Hanafi school don't really allow reading from Mus'haf. But in these kind of situations, if a person does not want to stop this connection with the Quran, I personally would say, I know it's not the position in the Hanafi school, but I personally would say there would be scope for a person in these situations, if they can't go to the masjid, to read from a Quran in that salat. As long as they've got it like on a platform or something and they don't have to keep changing the pages, I would say that this would be allowed in this situation. I don't see a problem with that, because I believe the Quran is a special connection that Muslims have with the Quran, and being able to read the Quran and different surahs, because if you read the same surahs, a person kind of switches off. Yeah, so I think personally, I think if this situation carries on, there may be scope for this. And if I have to be in a situation where I'm not a hafiz of Quran, I would resort to that. Yeah, reading from the Quran in the Taraweeh at home. How will we be addressed on Judgment Day? Full names, first names, followed by father's name. Allah knows best. Inshallah, when I go there, inshallah, we will go there. We're all going to find out. But narrations do mention that people will be called by their father's names, and if they don't have a father, by their mother's names. But Allah knows best. Look at that. And same question for Eid 2020. Yeah, how is Eid going to be? That's a good one. Ammar Patel, what's your opinion on Medina University? Is syllabus, teachers? I think it's very good. Very good. I have many of my teachers who's taught me in Banuri Town who actually graduated from Medina University. The principal in Banuri Town at the moment is actually one of the first students who graduated from Medina University when it was set up in the 60s. So I think it's a very good. The thing is, I think a lot of times, many of like individuals or maybe learned people will say, stay away from Saudi's got Salafis, and stay away from this and stay away from this. I think people have to understand, look, end of the day, we need to be able to have people graduate from madrasas and have open minds and be able to judge for themselves instead of like being told that, you know what, don't listen to them, they're going to poison you. I think we have to have that trust and say, look, read their books, study by them, see what you think. You know, some people say this about certain individuals in the UK as well. Don't study by him, he's a deviant. Don't study by this person. You know, how are you going to learn if they're deviant, right? You need to expose yourself, see what they have to say. What I would say is, first of all, study by the person who you have full trust in. Once you've studied by them, then you can go to the... You might end up finding out that the person you studied by in the first place, you know, you don't agree with them on a lot of things. And that's what happens with me. I studied, you know, in Pakistan. I studied by many of my teachers, and certain views of my teachers I don't agree with, but I respect them. Alhamdulillah. And this is Sahaba were like this as well. They studied from each other. Some of them didn't accept the differences of other Sahaba. Said, oh, I don't accept it, but I respect them. Students of Abu Hanifa the same as well. Students of Imam Malik, students of Shafi'i. Okay, Sheikh Ali Murrahan, how do we distinguish true mujaddids of the era? Many people claim that what is the best sign to say so. I think this idea of mujaddids is, look, the person who is doing the most for the community, the scholars who are having the most impact around the world. I think we need to, you know, support them. We need to help them as well. Yeah, so positive things for the community, standing up for the community, standing up for good causes. We should stand up for these kind of things as long as they're doing it in a good way. Sharif, Assalamu alaikum. The swiped up by birds related to Hajj ayah. Also seen a pic of Jamaat Indonesia with 3 meters between each person in Jamaat. Is there room in this Hanafi? Such gaps. Okay, the birds. Yeah, so this ayah in the Quran is basically referring to, the ayah in the Quran that you mentioned, Hajj, is basically referring to like how the resemblance of kufr, the resemblance of shirk. What is, like, if you had to give a picture of what shirk is, the best example of shirk you can give is like someone who's falling from a plane, who's like going at, what's that speed that they travel at? Yeah, traveling, falling down to earth, fast speed, and then all of a sudden these powerful birds like eagles come and start tearing the meat. Have you ever seen it? Where, you know, in Pakistan, we used to experience this, where they used to have, Eid Qurbani, so slaughtered animals. So they have meat, and you throw in the air, and about 20 hawks, falcons, just come zooming down, tear in the air. They tear the meat to pieces and fly off without falling to the ground. So this is a powerful image. This is that anyone who does shirk with Allah is like a person who's throwing themselves down, right, and going at hyper velocity, and they're going all the way down, and then all these powerful birds come and they start tearing the person to pieces. This is what shirk is like. This is what it does to a society. It rips a society to pieces. Okay. Could you comment, Yahya Muhammad, could you comment on this? Gaining a reward similar to that of a martyr because of the coronavirus. Yes, definitely. And if you remember when I read from the book and I mentioned the 59 or 58 different types of shaheed, one was one who dies in a pandemic or a plague. So it'll be counted as a shaheed, but it won't be counted as the shaheed who dies in a battlefield. They're two different things, because you can't compare the two. Right? The one in the battlefield has a special reward, but this is a reward which is similar. Talha Chaudhry, what are your opinions regarding the people slandering Sheikh Hamza Yusuf regarding his comments about the Syrian people? I think online people will say all sorts of things. I ignore people online. If you've ever seen me on social media, on my Facebook, if someone in the comments starts commenting on some of my posts, I ignore them. I don't have time for it because it just gives me a headache. So I think if people, we shouldn't be upset if people are criticizing Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, because people have been criticizing scholars throughout history. People are criticizing Tabi'een, Sahaba even. People are criticizing the Prophet ﷺ. People are criticizing Allah. And I'll mention one thing. One of my teachers always used to say this. He said, now I don't know how true this narration is, but it's a good anecdote, that Musa alayhi salam one day said to Allah, "Oh Allah, please can you answer one dua for me? That can you stop people from criticizing me?" So Allah said no. Allah said, "I haven't done that for myself. Why should I do for you?" Now, I don't know how true this is, whether it's from the Semitic texts, but it's quite powerful, that is, that we have to think that no scholar should be criticized. Our Hazrat, our Sheikh, our Buzurg should never be criticized. We get upset if they're criticized. Why are we getting upset for? This is, if the criticism is something which is academic, then it's fine. And if it's slander, then we just ignore them, right? Just people are slandering Allah all the time. People are slandering Sahaba, right? We don't have to get into fights with them, right? Sometimes, the dogs that bark, they're just going to bark. We just stay silent. Yeah, otherwise they're just going to bark more. So social media isn't the best place for. If you want to respond to them, respond in a more academic manner. Write something up, put it up. That's what I would say. So I would ignore these kind of people. Muhammad Bakar, how many nawafil did the Nabi pray before or after the Salah? Various different types, different numbers. Muhammad Bakar, before and after, sorry. So the different types. So before Fajr, for example, he prayed 2. Before Zuhr, according to some narrations 4, according to some narrations 2. After Zuhr 2. Sometimes he'd pray even 2 after that. Before Asr, sometimes he prayed 2. Sometimes he prayed 4. On some occasions, even after Asr, he prayed 2. Very few times though. Maghrib, after Maghrib, he prayed 2. Before Maghrib, he never prayed 2. Some Sahaba did. Before Isha, sometimes he prayed 2. Sometimes he prayed 4. After Isha, he prayed 2. Sometimes he prayed even 2 again. At night time, sometimes he prayed 2, sometimes he prayed 4, sometimes he prayed. So there's many narrations about that. Anisa the Queen, shukran for your knowledge and taking time to answer questions for us, teaching us how to read the Quran. Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, your family. You're welcome, Anisa the Queen. May Allah make you a queen in the dunya and the hereafter, inshallah. Muhammad Bakar, is it compulsory to wear a kufi or cap in the salah? Because many imams say it isn't acceptable without the kufa. And yeah, it's fine. You can wear it. There's ikhtilaf among scholars. Sharif Will, Assalamu alaikum. Reading the Quran from a screen in front of you and checking the remote button to change pages, will that be okay? I mean, there's scope for it. I would say there's scope for it. Not in the Hanafi school, but there is scope for it in other madhabs. Talha Chowdhury, Mufti Sahib, can you please clarify the Sufi position? I hear a lot of Salafiyah slander the Sufis. However, I also observe some great Sufi scholars. I mean, I can't really defend all Sufis. There are many people who do claim they're Sufis and do acts which are totally against Islam. But what I would say, look, Sufi, the term, if Sufi means a person who is trying to rectify themselves and trying to have a systematic way of trying to get close to Allah, then alhamdulillah, that's a good thing. But if Sufi means a person who is bringing people to themselves and away from Allah, then I'm totally against that. Yeah, if someone wants to make their numbers more, their followers more, and they want to distract their followers from Allah and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I think that's the worst thing that a person can do. Idris Shah, can you explain about Mursal Hadith? Yeah, so this is a very big topic, by the way. Mursal is a very big. If you had a specific question, I can explain that, but explaining Mursal Hadith would probably take me like 3 or 4 hours to explain, because it's a very big topic. But I mean, it's something which I've actually covered in Muqaddam ibn Salah, and if you're one of the patrons, then you get access to those videos, and in there I go into detail about that. But Mursal Hadith is, one meaning of Mursal Hadith is where a narrator misses out the Sahabi, Tabi'i narrates directly from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's a common understanding of it. But there's actually I've actually got a book here. Where is it? It's somewhere up here. There's 2 volumes written by a lady in Saudi Arabia. It's 2 volumes on Mursal Hadith. Very detailed work. It's called Al-Mursal by Hissa bint Abdul Aziz. Yahya Muhammad, what is your favorite Quran ayah? My favorite Quran ayah is Ayatul Kursi. Everyone knows me and my favorites, so I'll just say Ayatul Kursi. Anisa the Queen, where is the best buy hadith books from Islamic books, Quran, etc.? It depends where you live. I mean, I don't exactly know what the best place is in the world, but I usually get mine from a few bookstores, maybe something online, or maybe in Birmingham there's a place called Makkah bookstore. Sheikh Salim, the way we memorize Quran, what is the best way to learn hadith as earlier scholars did? Is it better to memorize with Arabic or just the English translation? I mean, if you want to learn like the early scholars, then Arabic. Look about we enjoy spending Saturday nights with you. Do you enjoy nights with us? Of course, bro. Yeah, how can I say no? I enjoy, this is my, yeah, I actually look forward to the entire week. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys. Yeah, you guys are my family, man. Yeah. So I always looking forward to, look about you probably normally turn up at this time, 11 o'clock. Yeah, 10:30, 11 o'clock. But today, mashallah, you turned up early today. So I got to give that to you. Sheikh Aleem, Jazakallah khair for answering all questions. You're welcome. Talha Chowdhury, Mufti Saab, why does some Salafis say that the Aqidah of the Hanafiya subcontinent is not correct and is different from what Imam Abu Hanifa's? I don't know. Wallah, if you can mention to me like some of the points they mention. But I don't know. I mean, see, Salafiyya, there's a whole group of Salafi, different like kind of grades of Salafi scholars, different strands of Salafi scholars. Aisha Rawat, alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Aisha Rawat, how are you? What's the ruling of praying salah with fake rings? Totally fine. With the true rings and fake rings, it's totally fine. So you can wear, there's a common question that people ask, can a woman wear fake rings? Yes, she can. She can wear fake rings, nothing wrong with wearing fake rings. And this is mentioned by Mufti Saifur Rahman Al-Khalidi. Saifur Rahman Khalidi in India, he's actually in his book, what's his fiqh book called? He's got 4 volumes, not 4 volumes, how many volumes? 6, 7 volumes. Fiqh something. And in there he actually mentions, he says it's fine. Look about that. You can try going for a role in Urtugal with that hair. Yeah, I can't I? I need to like look a bit serious. And have like a sword in my hand. I've got a sword. And this is my sword. And I always got to come out with like a powerful statement. So you can have like a meme there. You're not a man if you don't have your pen. Something like that. Okay, Ammar Patel Mufti Sahab, my Darulum is closed. What do you recommend me to do to stay connected with my books? What I would say is start doing mutala of certain books. Start reading some tafsir maybe, or any topic that you're interested in. Start reading that. Go through it systematically, make notes, and start to, benefit that way, inshallah. Oh, look about Taha. Sorry, Ustad. I turn up late because wife complains. I can't know what you're saying more than her. But she's been asleep. She's been in quarantine. She's tired now. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Oh, hashtag Alhamdulillah. You're dead, bro. If she watches the recording of this, you're dead. Yeah. That's it. I've got nothing to do with this here. Excuse me, wife. I've got nothing to do with this. I'm free of this. This is your husband, Ulukapatta. He's one to blame. Anyway, guys, Jazakallah khair. Questions are all over. MashaAllah. Nice to have you, alhamdulillah, today again. And it's always wonderful. Do I love Imam Ali? Bro, I told you, man, I love Imam Ali. Ali radiallahu anhu ala ra'si wal ayn. Yeah, I love Ali radiallahu anhu, I love Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, I love Umar radiallahu anhu, I love Uthman radiallahu anhu, I love Aisha radiallahu anha. I love all the Sahaba. Every one of them, I love them. Alhamdulillah. Sharif, well, free fall may have been the word. The gap in the prayer ranks are the situations when permitted in Hanafi fiqh. I apologize. Yeah, so free fall is the word. Yeah, that's the word looking for. So, yes, according to Hanafis, basically, there's 2 things that make salat valid when it comes to standing. One is as long as you're in the same area, the masjid. So you can stand anywhere in the masjid behind the imam. Prayer is valid. But if there's no excuse, there shouldn't be no gaps. It's makruh if there's gaps. If there's an excuse like a pillar or something else, then you can have gaps. And yeah, so that's in the masjid. So in the masjid you can stand anywhere basically. Okay, Ammar Patel, I'm really interested in fiqh. What books do you recommend also in usul books? So usul, I've actually done a series on usul on my course. So if you check over here, yeah, there's a link to a website, uruk.com, and I've got a whole 28 videos on usul fiqh I've done, Hanafi usul fiqh. That, and then I've got like usul shashi and Nur Anwar. So that's something you can check out. But yeah, I mean, I would say try Nur Anwar, try usul Sarakhsi, very good. Usul Jassas, quite advanced, but they're very good. You would be perfect replacement for Turbat in Urtugal. then you can shout Haydar Allah, Hakdir Allah. I've never watched it, by the way, yeah. But I'm just kind of like going according to the memes that people send me. Hey, Kamran, to anyone going crazy in supermarkets, chill out. Definitely, Ameen to that. Dragon Master 92 Sanaz, one of my cousins asked if we can do yoga at home. Is it permissible? Yes, yoga is totally permissible. As long as you're not obviously kind of saying Ram or Sita or whatever, Krishna, and doing the kind of like chanting, which is shirk chant. It's fine. The actions are fine. Sister Zahra, mashallah, may Allah grant everyone good health always. Ameen. Muhammad Baker, is supplication obligatory after each salah? No, it's not. Look at Sheikh Omar Suleiman from America is doing extra video due to coronavirus, like Jummah time and more evenings. Why don't you start in England? It's because the problem is I've still got classes. I've got online classes. So instead of me teaching at Sufa there on site, I'm going to be teaching online. So the same hours I've got to put in. So some of our jobs are just possible anyway. Okay, Hamza S. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hamza, do you teach in a madrasa? Yes, I do. I teach at As-Sufa Institute. You can Google it. As-Sufa Institute. My name will probably come up in the teachers. Abdullah Bukhari, would salah be valid if there is traces of cat litter on a prayer mat? Yes, it will be fine, inshallah. As long as you don't do sajda on them, you move them to the side. Muhammad Baker, is there hadith regarding standing in salah feet to feet? I understand there is one regarding the shoulder to shoulder, but some people intentionally put their feet. Yes, there's a hadith that mentions about having feet to feet, ankle to ankle. But some of the scholars have discussed this and say what that meant was try to align them, not to necessarily stick them to each other, but have them aligned. They say those phrases are to God when they run to kill the enemies. Oh, right. Dragon Master, have you ever thought of doing halal stand-up routines? I don't think I'm that good. I know I do some jokes now and again. But see, the thing is, when you stand in front of people, let me tell you something, and you tell a joke, and people don't laugh, I tell you, that is that's the most sinking feeling that you can ever get. So this is something which has happened to me on a few occasions. Yeah, I've done some talks. I've meant a joke or something, and the audience will be like dead faces. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to switch from this topic to another topic? But alhamdulillah, I get through it. But yeah, I tell you, it's a scary experience, man. I've got to give it to these stand-up comedians, how they can keep the face and carry on. Have you ever, okay, Muhammad Beggar, and the more I squeeze myself, the more they stretch. Yeah, unfortunately. Anyway, guys, Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much, guys, for all your questions. Yeah, alhamdulillah. It's a very lovely time having with you guys here. May Allah preserve all you guys, keep all you guys safe and happy and khush. And inshallah, I will see you guys next week, inshallah. What I'm thinking about it. What do you guys think about this? Tomorrow, I was thinking maybe tomorrow evening, I don't know yet, I haven't guaranteed it, but what about tomorrow evening doing, remember I used to do before the reading classes online, where people Skype in, and then online I do reading, and then people listening to the reading, live reading classes. So then people read a text and I correct them, read an Arabic text. But this is only for those people who are studying Arabic. It wouldn't be for everyone. People who don't know Arabic or they don't know Arabic grammar, haven't studied a bit, it wouldn't be for them. It's just going to be. So what do you guys think? The reading classes. Let me know what you guys think. Also, tell me, inshallah, if you're new to this session today. So if you're new to this session today, put in the comments. And guess what I'm going to say the next question is going to be? If you're from America, if you're from the US, put in the comments, inshallah. My US brethrens. And if you're from Wuhan, then put in the comments as well. If you're from Wuhan, yeah, comments please, yeah. And if you're from Italy as well, lockdown, if you're in a lockdown country, put in the UN. And I just want to see who's here. Yeah, who's here. MashaAllah, I was surprised. Sister Angela, MashaAllah, is from original Native American tribes. Yeah. What was the Native American tribe name? I forgot the name now. I forgot the name of the tribe now. What book? So it might be just something like a book of adab. Is salah valid in masjid hall where a kid wet herself while sat in assembly, then After 15 minutes, she got up, so it may have been a bit damp and dried up now, and can't be seen. Yeah, as long as no one knows it's there, then it's fine. Salat will be done. Legal. But if someone knows it's there, they have to clean it up. Okay, good night. Take care, inshallah. Abunant. Assalamu alaikum. I'm from America, Alabama. Ahlan wa sahlan, Alabama. Now, Sister Anisa, you don't want to hear my American accent. I don't know what the Alabama accent is, but I suppose it's a bit kind of like one of those kind of cowboy kind of accents. I don't know. I'm guessing here, yeah. Amar Patel, and what time and how do I keep up with all the things you're doing? So if you kind of follow me on social media, on my Twitter or on Facebook or I don't know, Instagram, Roots of Knowledge, I'll put it up on there. Don't hate on Wuhan. Soul Tribe, yeah, Soul Tribe, that's the one, Soul Tribe. Yeah, don't hate on Wuhan. I'm not hating on Wuhan, boy. Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, can I say about the Patient Zero? Patient Zero is a famous person, and the whole world wants to know who is Patient Zero, boy. Or Shawnee or Simnon. Okay, I can't pronounce those, man. Okay. So is the tribe. Okay. Anyway, so no more questions then. So I've finished. So Hamza, I do apologize. Okay, my family has 3 Baligh men and 2 Baligh women. So would these 2 Baligh women equal a Baligh man, and we can pray Jummah with them? I heard the fiqh that 2 women. So I would say no, you can't pray Jummah at home. Yeah, you know, Jummah, according to Hanafis, you have to have 4, but it goes against the whole concept of Jummah. Jummah is supposed to be in the public, in the open. It has to be 4 men, 1 imam and 3 other men. Some teachers knew it was there, but not the people that pray there. It's hard to know if there's exactly. So yeah, so the Hanafis say basically, if you don't know exactly where it is, you take a rough estimate, you watch that place, and then you ignore it. Yeah. So saying Jazakallah khair. Dragon Master, do you recommend any ayats to pray for suffering with anxiety? You know what to do. Read Durood Sharif a lot. Salutation, the Prophet ﷺ, it helps a lot. Read that. Ya Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Just read that. Read. Okay. Do the accent. You want me to do my American accent? Yeah. This is my Trump accent. Chinese virus. That guy's messed up, man. Proper. I feel sorry for you guys. Yeah, the kind of I mean, I guarantee you guys. What's that guy's name who was cringing the other day on the TV? That doctor who was next to him. You know, who put his hand on his face and he was cringing at something he said. Yeah. Can I lead Salah with my wife behind me for Tahajjud or any Jama'ah? Yes, you can. If a mosque are closing shift, we start praying in parks. I mean, I think the whole idea of closing the mosque was you stop gatherings. Not that you make gatherings somewhere else. Jazakallah khair, Sufyan. Jazakallah khair. Been an awesome session. May Allah reward you. Ameen. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah. Hamza. Some institutions in America like Dar Qasim say we should pray Jummah at home, so I'm a bit confused. Yeah, there is. What I'm saying is there is some Hanafis have permitted it, but personally, if you ask me, I would say no, because the whole aim, Hanafi says that if you can't do Jummah, you pray Zuhr. So there is some permissibility as long as there's Idhni Am, which is like you don't stop other people from joining you. Please stop, you killed it. Yeehaw, yeah, man. You know what, guys? Look, that's how it sounds to me. What do you want me to do, bhai? You want me to speak in a way that, you know, it doesn't sound to me. That's how it sounds to me. Yeah, and I guarantee you guys, yeah, all you guys who are laughing, all you Americans who are laughing, let me tell you something. If you guys speak British accent, I guarantee you're gonna probably speaking British accent like how I speak American accent. Yeah, I think that's how you're gonna speak. And then let's see who's laughing then. I guarantee even Wuhan man, yeah, you know, Wuhan man's Patient Zero, I guarantee even he will laugh at you. Okay, anyway, I think let's call it a night, man. let's call it a night, bro. You know what I'm saying? We gotta keep our spirits alive. Yeah, we gotta keep these comedy shows, Saturday night comedy shows. You know how they're saying here that when isolation, one of the problems is that people start going mad because they don't have any comedy. Yeah, Saturday night comedy, guys, for all family. You can have that. Anyway, just like, okay, I promised one thing. I said I'm gonna go through a book, and so there's actually a book. Okay, this is a book called Talbis Iblis. Okay, this is a book called Talbis Iblis. Yeah. Talbis Iblis is written by Imam Ibn Jawzi, who was a scholar in the 500s, right after Hijrah. And Talbis Iblis means the deceptions of Shaitan, basically. So he categorizes people into 13 categories. So he breaks down different 13 categories of society and how Shaitan influences them. So this was written for his time, but I think an updated version needs to be written for our time. So, for example, how Shaitan affects people that go work today, how Shaitan affects people that work in the media, how Shaitan affects people that are parents of today and go university, and how Shaitan affects teachers and students and taxi drivers and, you know, corner shop, etc., politicians. So everyone is affected by Shaitan in different ways. So this was for his time, and he broke down people into 13 categories. And I actually did a course, I remember a few years ago. It was called A Day with Shaitan. So what I done was I actually kind of collected from here and from other sources evidence or like examples of how Shaitan affects people, from marketing techniques and all these kind of things. Maybe I don't know, might do an online thing for it as well, again, just for those people who didn't have opportunity to attend. But this is a very good book to kind of give you an insight into into how sometimes we don't even realize we're doing bad things, but we have to be self-conscious of our actions, monitor ourselves. It's a good book for self-consciousness, about self-monitoring. Yeah, Talbis Iblis. And you know, people need it. People need to realize that the wrong things that they're doing. So he mentions in here is a story, the famous story that you guys have probably heard about. Remember that what's his name, that guy, that old man who is a pious person in the city, and then the two brothers who go for war and they leave the little daughter, the sister, with him, and then, you know, he stays away from her, and then eventually he ends up fornicating with her and then having a child and murdering her. Yeah, I forgot the guy's name. If you remember the guy's name, put in the comments. But that story's in here as well. Yeah, and many other stories. So it's a very good kind of like a very good sort of like a book for you know, just generally reading on the side. Yeah, benefiting. Okay, so cowboy style, yeah. So you like my American accent? You know what? I'm thinking, should I do like a American accent, like live stream, proper for the Americans only, and only they can understand my American accent. Yeah, you British, no, you guys can't understand my American accent. Should Kanz be studied after Quduri or before, and what makes Ikhtiyar in Hanafi school special? I think Ikhtiyar should be studied after Quduri. Ikhtiyar is very detailed, very nice. Kanz maybe later on, because Kanz is just too compact. I don't think Kanz is that important, personally. I do teach Kanz on my YouTube channel, but I don't think it's that important. I think wife is awake. I can hear some noise. Do dua for me. What's up? It's going to be a tough night. But look, let me tell you something here. If she's coughing, yeah, and if she's got some crazy high temperature, you know what? Just leg it. Just get the car keys. Just do one. 0121, do one. Yeah, let's go. Thank you. You're welcome, Zara. Google user. It sounds so funny. I think it sounds that way. Sharif, well, it sounds like a series. And he said, I want my Islamic library to be like yours. Make dua becomes better than mine. Mine's just small. As I was saying, please do another one, inshallah. Sounds really interesting. Would enjoy. Halima Qureshi. Barsisa, that's the one. Barsisa, yes. The story of Barsisa. That's where all the scholars kind of in their talks, they mention it. That's where they get it from. Barsisa. Okay, yeah. So again, guys, I'm going to have to tell you guys again. I apologize, but I'm going to have to call it a day. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much for the entertainment. May Allah keep all of you guys protected. May remember all of your fellow Muslim brothers and sisters around the world who are suffering. whether it's because of the coronavirus or because of wars or because of family, whatever. At the end of the day, this is our family. This is we here we're a small family, but in reality we're a big family. We are, and we have to have care and concern for one another, inshallah. And these are the days we need to connect with Allah. Wallahi, we need to connect with Allah. We need to recite Quran as much as possible, do dhikr as much as possible. And like I said before, when big calamities, global calamities occur on earth, that is clearly a sign from Allah, and that's a sign that things are going to change on earth. So we have to become the positive change, and connecting with Allah is like when Nuh alayhi salam, when that big flood came, and Nuh alayhi salam said to his son, irkam ma'i, join me on the boat, and don't be from amongst those people who are going to die. وَلَا تَكُنْ مَعَ الْكَافِرِينَ. قَالَ سَآوِي إِلَى جَبَلٍ. He said, I'm going to go to a high place on a mountain and save myself. He thought he could save himself. But if Allah has written down that you are going to die in that, you can't help it. So we try our best to do as much as we can before we leave this world. And, fasting, recitation of Quran, being kind to other people, helping people as much as you can in your community is the best action you can ever do. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the highest faith person is the one who is the best in good character. Yeah, the best in good character. Remember that. Anyway, if you're doing an American accent for Americans, I think we British deserve a posh British accent. You want me to speak in the posh British accent? Actually, I can only do that for about 10-15 seconds, because then I start coughing, and then you're going to think I've got coronavirus. Yeah, and then people are going to stop coming to my house. Okay. How's Al-Mukhtar and Sharh Wiqaya for students? Al-Mukhtar, which one's Mukhtar? Al-Ikhtiyar, you mean? Dur al-Mukhtar? Sharh Wiqaya is good, yeah, definitely. S. Hussein, yeah, smiley face, Dragon Master. There's a book by psychologist Zimbardo, and he's called Lucifer Effect. It's a very good book and worth reading, similar to the book you mentioned. Okay, I'll actually have a look at that one, because I'm interested in reading more about this. There's actually a good, it's called a series by a Christian, I forgot his name now, Lewis, what's his name, Lewis, famous Christian who writes a lot on this kind of stuff. It's called the typed letters or something. I read the whole thing. It's like all these letters Iblis, Shaitan, says to his student. It's like so interesting, and it kind of gives you an insight, a different way, and I've taken a lot of that and I've put it into the course. An interesting course I made, very interactive. Yeah, it was a new kind of, I don't think anyone's done like that. Wa alaikum assalam, Anisa Sharif. Ameen. Jazakallah khair, guys. Okay, take care everyone, inshallah, and I will see you guys next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.